try this again. Sir, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Chase.
Oh, yes.
Just 1 second.
Really?
Now.
CP.
Sir, can you hear us? Sorry, I got the volume on now. Thank you.
All right, 6 o'clock, let's get started. Please say the pledge. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we have everybody here tonight. Sarah is remote, so we're good on that part. Regular agenda, I think I haven't heard any changes. Anybody?
No.
I'll look for a motion to accept them as is.
So moved.
Second.
Amy makes a motion. Jeff does a second. Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Consent agenda. Anything on there? Questions?
I did just have one question. I think it's maybe for Jim. There was a $9,000 cost to American Engineering Services for the embankment failure. Is that the Lost River 2022-2? Is that?
No, it would have been part of, it wasn't tied to any one project.
I mean, but it's that slope failure we were
Yeah.
talking about in Lost
Yes.
River? Okay,
Yes.
all right.
It's the geotechnical evaluation for
Okay.
that slide.
Okay, can you just, I could have looked past at old meeting, but could you just remind me, is that something that gets roped into the cost of the remediation, and what is our funding source again?
I'm not sure how you're gonna, there's funds in that special assessment district
In the district.
for that one.
Yeah, that's right now, we don't have the exact costs of what it would be to
Okay.
do it.
Well, we know what the
But, we have an idea of the evaluation costs there, and that would probably be a cost through the improvement district, is, I believe, where we're going to hit.
Okay, I just
Which
was.
would make sense.
I was just
Yeah.
wondering if that was what it was tied to.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, any other questions on that? Okay, I'll look for a motion to accept the consent agenda as is.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Stephanie is a second. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, City Council special meeting minutes from the August 28th meeting. Is there any changes, corrections, additions on that?
No.
And I'll look for a motion to accept them as is then.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Jeff makes a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
There's a second. All right, all in favor say aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. The meeting minutes from the meeting on September 5th. Any changes on that one, corrections? Otherwise, I'll look for the motion to accept them as is.
Motion to approve the September 15, September 5th,
Fifth, there we go.
2023 meeting.
All right. Stephanie makes a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay. Give it to her.
Okay, Naomi does a second. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, time for public comment. Anybody got anything they want to chat about this evening? Yep, go ahead.
Give me a second. I watched the minute meetings from the last meeting.
Can you introduce yourself first? And you.
Sharon Carpenter.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
No, that's fine.
And I watched the meeting minutes from a couple weeks ago, and you tabled the stuff to do with the districts on 7th and 8th.
Mhm.
And what I'm wondering is, if 8th gets finished, I know that the 3rd, 4th, and all those people from the north are going to be shooting across there and heading straight out. So I feel like you should do a traffic assessment before you decide on any districts, like putting the counters, like I live at 601, across from the City Hall. Like putting one there and one on the other side of Park, one on Third, and on the other side of Third, the other side of Fourth, etc. So you could see where the traffic is actually going, who is going to actually benefit before you make the districts. Does that make sense?
Something we can take under advisement, definitely.
Okay. The other thing I have is when and if you ever do 8, I think that there should be either a yield sign or a stop sign down at the end of Nelson and 8. Because of that fence, it's going to be a big hazard if there's not something there to stop it.
No, I can understand that too.
Is this something, now you didn't say on your last meeting, you didn't say when you were going to be approaching this again? When it was going to be tabled until when? Do you know that?
I think we were gonna look into that.
Tonight.
Tonight, yeah, it's not- I mean, that one, but I mean,
You're not
But
looking
others-
into it tonight?
It is
No, we are.
now.
Yeah, it's on the agenda tonight.
Yep.
Agenda item 12.
yeah.
Okay.
8th is tonight, 7th, the district was created at the last council meeting. So the 7th, the district was created, 8th is a discussion tonight.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
yep. Yep.
Okay, anybody else? Anything you want to talk about? Go ahead.
My name is Robin Albert, and I live in Country Acres, the 4th subdivision. 2 years ago, there was a special assessment that was put in for 2 large drains, and I had written a long letter and proposed that it not happen because the water is supposed to drain to the east. Well, that's exactly what's happening. I'm having a large amount of damage on my property because these brand-new houses that no one's living in, they're turning the water on in the middle of the night from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. And a large amount of water is coming down their property, and it's not going to the drains that were created because there's no drainage ditch. And so I have like 6 inches of water on 1/3 of my property, and I own 3 acres. And I've lost about at least 10 trees, maybe 15 mature trees that are 20 foot tall. And I would like to know what's going to be done about that. And how
Agenda
the
item 15.
Okay.
Yep. So we did have a meeting, about an
Oh.
hour long, a couple days ago, last week, to discuss your exact issue. We put it as agenda item number 15 for tonight, to discuss
Okay.
it further as to how we're going to handle this going forward.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. All right, we'll move on to the sheriff's update. You got his report?
So they actually let me have a couple of days off of work here last week, so I just got back and haven't really got a whole lot of time to go over it. I did see there was a couple injury accidents. I looked over those. One was rural. One was a false alarm, young man dropping his cell phone. Now they have those crash detection. The other one was a motorcycle crash over by I-29. So nothing actually in the city of Horace, so. Those are the ones I looked up that were obviously a concern to me. Why are they happening? And there was nothing in the actual city, so. As far as that goes, I didn't have anything else that drew my attention. If you guys have any questions on that, I do have one other thing I'll bring up after we're done looking at this.
I just saw there were 2 complaints about fireworks in August. Was that connected with some Bean Days activities, or was
I
that?
do believe those ones were, yes.
Yeah.
The last meeting was from 4th of July. These ones were from.
Yeah, that's, I figured that being, there was calls in into Fargo Dispatch about that that's probably what the issue was, so, okay.
Yeah, otherwise, a lot of the public assists, the residents building checks, suspicious, a lot of those are self-generated stuff. Guys just driving around at night and they see something that doesn't, draws their attention or they want to check out, they'll create a suspicious call, so. A lot of them are self-generated, it's not like there's actual lot of stuff going on, so.
Yeah, so the other one I saw you had 2 up there for theft. Was that commercial, going after the builders, trailers type thing, or was that?
2 seconds. and
Sure.
we'll let you know.
Because I know that was a concern earlier.
My wonderful computer always clears out all my parameters when we search it for everything. First one looks to be more of like a civil issue between exes.
Okay.
Something being taken, so that is that one. Second one. Somebody wanted to talk about an incident from 2015.
Gotcha. Okay.
So no, nothing of concern there.
Okay. So the only other thing I was going to ask you about, are any of these up here really having to do with Bean Days activities at all, or?
I worked it pretty much the entire Bean Days, and I took one report. If you scroll down a little bit, the case offenses are keep going. These are ones that have actually generated reports that where we actually type up
Yep.
a full report on. The only one I took specifically in regards to Bean Days was a violation of a court order, where 2 people who weren't supposed to be around each other and into each other at the dance. So
Well, if we can keep it to just that for Bean Days, I'll be okay with
They
that.
went very well. Like I said, I
Yeah.
worked pretty much the entire time. I didn't have any complaints, any issues.
Good. I hadn't heard anything either, but I just wanted to see if you had come across anything.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty well.
Yeah.
No complaints from me, other than I think we talked about last meeting a little bit, the side-by-sides and kids wearing helmets if they're under 18, the golf cart stuff, all of that.
Right. Do you guys have any questions? Don't mind.
I do. I got a question. Later on in the agenda, we're going to talk about one of the areas in town that's seeing a lot of speeding that normally doesn't due to construction detouring traffic through their neighborhood. I'm not sure if that is something that you guys are able to help with, or if we need to call West Fargo PD, because it's going to be where Greyhawk meets up with the Wilds. You'll have that barricade up there, but they come through, and we got to figure out some sort of solution. So I don't know if
And where's that at?
northwest corner of town. So it'll be, I think she just said
It's the next
the
item.
very next item. So if you want to stick around, at least I don't.
Okay, yeah, no, if it's a matter of some traffic enforcement and it's in the county or in Horace, absolutely, I'd be glad to.
Are you on days now, or are you on nights?
I go to days in October here, so I'll be on
Okay.
days here very shortly.
Okay.
I don't know if that's when the majority of it's happening.
It's usually morning and evening the way it's on. I'm sure it's not going during the day.
What happens?
Right off 64th.
Right off 64th.
60th Avenue is where the gate is.
So 64th and what?
60th is the north end.
60th is where the
64th
gate
and 60th, and was it 74th?
Are we able to point it out?
It's right west of Horseshoe Bend.
Just do it.
Okay, yeah. So it's on 64th where there's a lot of.
No.
issues? Oh, yes, they're coming through the north.
Yeah, they're all coming through the Wells.
I guess I just call it the
Traffic
Greyhawk
comes
Road.
through.
I got you.
Does it have a more formal name? I guess I was just call it the Greyhawk Road.
I just had him highlight the area.
Yep, okay, I know what you're talking about. Because they just opened that up, there used to be the barricade there, right?
Yep, China Street's closed, well, we can talk about that, it's on the agenda.
Yep, we can talk about it more, but no, I can certainly pass that info on. That'll have to probably be a little bit of a combo.
Yeah.
Between us and West Fargo. We have a patrol meeting right after this, so I will bring it up at the patrol meeting.
Yeah.
And then when I'm working tonight, I'll reach out to a West Fargo sergeant.
Yeah, okay.
Chat with them about
Thanks.
that as well. The only other thing, if nobody else has anything else, I was gonna bring up, so we had another, I guess, upset citizen here in Horace regarding cats that are purposely being trapped. The sheriff's office is kind of taking a stance on people who are purposely catching cats, that we are not going to come and pick them up and transport them to the pound. 2 reasons: the last time we did it for this particular individual, our deputy got attacked by the cat. ended up having to go to the hospital, getting shots, which also then falls onto the taxpayers of Cass County and Horace to have to pay for the medical bills, all of that. Not only that, any animal we bring into the pound, we are responsible as, and I say we because I'm a taxpayer as well, we're responsible for any costs that incur while that animal's at the pound. It could be vet bills if they're sick. So it does add up financially quite a bit. So I know this particular individual is quite upset and went to social media about it. So I just kind of wanted to make everybody aware kind of the stance we took. I'm going to bring that up at our patrol meeting tonight and just go over and see if there's anything we want to change at it. But people, anybody can bring an animal to the pound. So that's what we suggested. She bring it to the pound. I guess that wasn't acceptable, which it is what it is. So I don't know if this council members have any opinion on that.
Not yet.
So.
I hadn't heard of it.
Okay. But yeah, so it's just our office trying to, what's more important, a cat in a cage or us, our safety. Not only that, we're trying to be fiscally responsible with the taxpayers' money. We're constantly transporting cats and having to pay for their medical care.
Yep.
Yeah.
Understood.
Agreed.
So that was just something I wanted to bring up because I wasn't sure how far it's gotten yet. So but we'll discuss it at our patrol meeting again tonight, see if we want to change anything or how we're doing things. But as of right now, that's the stance we've taken. So.
Yep. Any other questions, guys? Concerns? Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thanks, Craig.
All right.
I will hang out until at least after the next one, and then I'll try to take off.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Brent, you want to
Okay,
just?
you want to just pull up that map again? So Jason's pulling up the map, and we'll go back to the conversation, or pick up where we left off really about Greyhawk. There were concerns about the gate being open. Jason will highlight where that gate is. It's right along the boundary of the Wilds subdivision in West Fargo, and Horace, the Greyhawk edition, right where the cursor is. He'll have a boxer on in just a second. That area, it's probably a couple years ago, the city put a gate there once the road was connected by West Fargo due to concerns of construction traffic cutting through there. Especially at that time, there were a lot of houses being built right adjacent to there, and I'm not discounting that there's a lot of houses probably being built in that area still to this day, and also further to the west. The gate was opened up earlier this year due to the construction of the roundabout at 64th and also County Road 17 construction there in order to give the folks in Greyhawk a way to get out without having to necessarily go detour quite a ways on gravel road. The roundabout is opened up. My understanding is there's concerns related to the amount of traffic, the speed of traffic going through the Greyhawk subdivision from the Wilds subdivision in West Fargo. I did have staff reach out to West Fargo School District. We're trying to find out the impacts of if the gate was to be shut. The school district indicated that if that gate was shut, let's see, trying to find the spot where it was. It would impact I believe they said 4 to 5 buses in the morning and afternoon. And then it'd be about a 15 to 20 minute delay in routes for getting the kids to, or no, it says 20 to 25 minute longer for those routes. That's due to the different construction going on County Road 17, such as the bridge being replaced with box culverts. I also asked Lucas to take a look at if there's any legal liability on if that gate was shut, so Lucas could expand on that. The main part that we really saw, and what I've heard from others also, is really how does it impact emergency vehicles. So if he wants to touch base any more on
It's not
impact.
something that there's a clear-cut answer for. I mean, in situations like this, if the city is blocking it and there's an emergency situation and emergency personnel can't get through for some reason, I don't know what's gonna happen, but the city is going to create liability from that gate. I mean, there's just nothing to say that it won't or it will. So again, not a clear-cut answer. But the city has the power to regulate its streets, and that includes its ability to obstruct its streets. Private individuals cannot block public streets, but the city has that authority. So if the council wants to continue to have that gate up, it certainly can, but by doing so, you're gonna run the risk of a situation happening, and I can't give a clear answer. And unfortunately, I think what's going to be the push for finding out a real answer is if something happens. You know, because everyone right now, buses, they're gonna find alternative routes, the public finding alternative routes, but if emergency services need to get in, or need to get to that area or get through that area, that's when you're gonna run into issues, and I don't know, from a liability standpoint, you know, where the city's putting itself. I mean, there's a discretionary function exemption that's outlined in case law, but it's I don't know, you know, if it's that clear cut, if this is a discretionary function of the city to put up that gate, if it would then fall under the exemption where the city's not liable then for its decision whether to put up the gate or take down the gate. So obviously not the answer that the council is looking for, but from a liability standpoint, it's hard to say whether the city's going to be liable or not. It's going to depend on the situation, person, and kind of what's going on. So
I guess with that road, I didn't think it was meant to be a detour road though. So why would there be an issue with the schools having to be delayed when it was never meant to be a detour road in the first place?
Well, they've been using it as the more direct route to get to the schools, like the middle school, high school, for example.
But don't we have detour signs out?
So if the buses would be detoured, and I do not believe the county has detour. Jim, do you recall? No. They do not have designated detour routes for County Road 17 being closed. If the school is to take a paved road and not be able to go this way, the school buses, they would have to go up to 40th Avenue, east to 45th Street, south to 76, and back over. And that's where they're saying it would take them quite a bit longer. If they do a paved road. If they do a gravel road, they would have to go west on 52nd, south on 81st Street, and then east back on 64th, and they'd be taking just under a mile and a half, just under 2 miles of gravel there.
I'm not really sure what the
Yeah.
problem with gravel is. I mean, I grew up in the country, and my school bus came out there all the time.
And I can't speak for the school district on their routes.
And I did go take a look this morning, and at the roundabout, the signage there's a detour sign that just sends you west on 52nd Avenue West, but then it doesn't tell you where to turn south, which I think the logical detour route would be. I guess my initial thought was kind of Naomi's. I don't think Greyhawk was ever meant to be the detour route. And I guess my initial thought was maybe better signage and educating people on what the proper detour route is, or creating it. I don't think Greyhawk was never meant to be a collector road. I did go observe traffic in Greyhawk this morning too, and I'll be honest, it was alarming. There was a lot of speed and there was a lot of volume. More than I actually thought I was going to see from 7 to 8:15 or 8:30. I don't know what it looks like in the evenings.
I don't think that road is meant to handle that.
So I was shocked by it.
Next year when they start the construction on the roundabout for 52nd and shut it down, how much more traffic is going to go through there?
I can't tell you how much traffic would choose to go that way versus go north. I don't know, Jim, if you have insight there, would people probably take that route? Yeah, they probably would. Is it going to be a drastic impact? I can't say for sure. I do know that, we've had some discussions about proposed development. Now it's been more vital right now. But I know the developer would like to get moving on that, just south of the Wilds, west of Greyhawk, called Altenburg Acres. With that, you'd have to have two projects, or a project which would address 9th, continuing down to 64th, and 64th, getting to the rest of the paved road.
But that also
That
requires
project-
us partnering with West Fargo to get that road done, and I'm
Not
not sure if they're ready
necessarily.
to do that.
Well, no, it would be improvements within Horace. Now, there'd be some little improvements, I believe, in West Fargo they would have to do. Jim, if you could
The
call.
road isn't continual, there's a turnaround at the end,
Yeah.
it would have to be done in West Fargo, but.
So, that is something that could be driven by development or the city. We do have the right of way already for that road, as you can see, it's already there, existing. That's more of a in the future fix, but as for a present time fix, there's a couple options I would foresee for like in the near future. One, as Lucas mentioned, you could close the gate. However, how is that going to impact students and the bus traffic and everything like that? Also, how does it impact emergency vehicles being able to get through there? Other option you could do, we could put, I talked to, I believe it was Councilor Landstrom about, we could put some speed limit signs or like kids at play or things that help try to slow it down. I think it'd probably be too late, and I don't know what Jim's thoughts are of, would it be too late to be able to do like, not quite a speed bump, but like a speed table or something to just try to slow traffic down a little bit.
Can you leave those up during the winter?
Brenton.
That would be painful or difficult for the public works staff.
I can check on our speed trailer and see if that's available.
Yeah.
And we could, if there's, I don't remember offhand what it looks like over there, if there's a place to park it.
Park in my yard.
There we go.
So there's some things we've done like that, and we could do that.
Do we have
So,
to,
speed trailer.
64th Avenue, is that considered county road, or is that ours? Isn't that like an arterial?
It's ours. 64th is Horace. So county has 76.
The only reason I'm asking is if we could put up some, like a detour sign around, basically a continuation off 52nd Avenue where they say to head west.
No,
We'd
you-
have to work with another entity to bring it all the way to 81st and down.
And you could try doing signage as a detour route. We could try putting some speed signs. There's the speed trailer. You could put a no-through truck signage there. I mean, those are some different avenues that might be able to help strengthen the deputies' teeth on it. Even if like a truck isn't speeding, if it's saying no through trucks, then they may be able, I can't speak for them, but they'd probably be able to do a little more enforcement of that if they see a truck going through. Those are some possibilities.
I just know, we had the same conversation last time we closed the gate, there's liability issues there. If we do run into a situation where there's an emergency and that gate is an impediment and slows things down, say even if it's 3 to 5 minutes, that still could be a life and death deal. So we have to be aware of that as much as I'd like to close that gate. But I also understand what the circumstances or what could possibly happen with that, so.
Well, I mean, I got quite a few emails from residents, and, I mean.
I did too. I got them
It
too.
was very eye-opening, to read those. I think something needs to be done for this area, so,
Yeah, I drove over on Friday night and I almost got hit over there, so.
yeah.
Could you give a little background again? Why is there a connection there? I mean, I totally recognize the difficult situation right now with the detour and everything, but are we obligated to have a southerly access for the Wilds in West Fargo at the expense of an existing neighborhood in Horace? I mean, Greyhawks is one of the least dense neighborhoods we have in our entire city, and that road was never created or intended to be a collector road, but that's what's happening to it right now. It's just blacktop over gravel, and it's not even really a 2-lane road, it's like a 1.5-lane road. I mean, it's a difficult position because the damage that's being caused to the road by usage, it was never intended to support. That's gonna come back to the city and the residents of Grayhawk to be left holding the bag
So-
for the damage.
And that was
Jim,
one of
were you
them for our
able-
capital improvements that never got done this year. Is that the reason why? Because we were gonna use that one or not? For a,
So was it
I think we were
always
doing
intended to connect
patching.
West Fargo and Horace there?
No.
So,
Can we talk discussion?
So,
Darren, go ahead.
well, wasn't it just a cul-de-sac at the end? I mean, I don't know the history.
So Darren Galdi, 7319 60th Avenue South. I'm a member of Grayhawk. History was that the gate was put up because they could not come to agreement with the developer to connect West Fargo to 64th to bring in all heavy truck traffic. So all the heavy trucks and equipment that was used to build the Wiles came through our development. That's why they put the gate up there. So the gate was closed until they did 64th Avenue roundabout to give us a way out. The problem we run into now is the volume, the speed, and the mix of heavy truck traffic and buses. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I was there this morning, the buses coming out of there are speeding too.
Yeah.
Everybody's speeding. And Stephanie is right, it's not meant to carry that type of traffic. I talked to the assistant county engineer for Cass County, and that was never intended to be a detour. It was just a consequence of, logistics, because 64th, or excuse me, Cheyenne Street roundabout is closed there at 52nd. So, and the new school district goes all the way up to north, I think, to 32nd Avenue South or north of there. So every kid and their parents are coming through our development, taking their kids to school. For enforcement, if you want to go out there between 6 and 6:30, I'm assuming that's probably when the football team and Horace gets off practice. That's when you're seeing the 50-mile-an-hour speeds through there. No offense to any kids that playing football. Another thing that's alarming is that it's a Class 1 road. We've got it listed as an over-dimensional permit. I think it's a Class 1 6-ton road. So a 6-ton road is only meant to carry 12,000 pounds on a single axle, 34 in tandem. There's concrete trucks, there's dirt trucks, there's equipment trucks coming through there every day. It was never designed to carry that kind of traffic. And most of those pieces of equipment coming through that development now are over that weight allotment. I'm guessing they're way over 80,000 because I worked construction for 30 years. I did all the permitting. I didn't even know Horace had an over-dimensional policy. It looks like they copied Fargo's. I'm wondering how many people actually filed a permit to actually go through our development. I'm guessing not very many. But I guess, to me, the speeds and the volume is what's alarming to me. I was sitting on my porch today between 5:15 and 5:45 before I came here. I counted at least 60 vehicles come through there. And when they go around the corners, the roads are narrow. Somebody's going to have a head-on there. It's just a matter of time. But I understand the hardship for the people that live in the wilds because they don't have another access to get their kids to school. I get that. But if those roads get tore up, it's going to be on my bill, or on the Grayhawk residents are going to get special assessed for it. I don't have a problem, I guess, if we're building another subdivision for Horace and we got traffic coming through for that subdivision. But this subdivision is being built over their wilds, and all the trucks coming through their building wilds is on West Fargo's tax rolls, not on Horace's. So it's not going to benefit Horace. So my question is, the gate was closed before. Why wasn't it a liability then and a law, a legal issue then, where it is now? So
It was then too.
it was a concern back when that gate was first put on.
So there was, so Grayhawk was there, end of the road.
Yep, basically it was the end of the road, and
Well,
that was.
yeah, I saw it, it was just
Yep.
just a field.
Yep.
And then the Wilds come and they connect to it, why?
It's a public roadway. They connected to a public road.
What it was
So-
I think what happened was, if I remember the discussions we had with the developer, because I got involved in some of those discussions, we horse traded. We let them hook up to our road, and then we got better drainage, because they blocked all our drainage going to the north along that water belt, along Ponderosa. So I told, I think it was Bullis, or it was it Eagle Ridge Development that was doing that over there, if I remember right?
Jim, yeah.
And I said, hey, we need drainage and whatnot, and then that was all great until they started building all the subdivisions in Wiles, and all the truck traffic came through, and then we came to the city of Horace and asked, hey, we're getting all this truck traffic through here. I had 2 years ago, I had a vehicle back all the way up the road and tear up my driveway because he was trying to get a dozer over there and he couldn't get through West Fargo, so he had to back in. So, anyway, any questions for me? I mean, basically, it's just concerning for, I don't know, how many other Grayhawk residents are here? On ours, see? You guys got anything to add? I don't know if I,
Covered basically everything.
Yeah.
So-
I will add, I'm Holly Rourke, I live right on 64th and the first house going in. I will say it's not only the traffic through the development, it's also down 64th. Like that pavement right there, I think the speed limit is 25. There are semis coming down that road well over 50.
Oh, absolutely, off the gravel there.
It's terrifying to even walk out there. I've almost been hit 3 times by high-speed traffic, not even looking where they're going. They look up and they swerve to miss me.
I know,
Our
I
kids
mean-
bike down the road and they're swerving in the ditch to get
Yeah.
out of the way from
I
traffic.
don't even let them bike after school anymore. I counted
Too
75
dangerous.
cars between
It's not a big
45.
enough road for them to be on there.
And we don't have sidewalks in that development. I think that's
Nor really want.
No.
64th is also a Class 1 road, so I know that they're using it for some of the diversion traffic now too. So technically, any of those trucks coming down 64th is technically overweight according to your policy.
I mean, would we have an ability to collaborate with West Fargo? I mean, I was up there today. I mean, I'm familiar with the area. I mean, the Wilds could just head out on 52nd and go west to 81st and around, which I actually thought was which was what I assumed was gonna be the signed official detour route. So I was surprised today when I saw there was just the one sign on CAS 17 saying head west, and then it doesn't tell you where to go. It's like find your own way. Maybe if we did better signage to create an official detour route, and then worked with West Fargo to educate the residents to use that.
If I was a Wild resident and I had a detour that was on gravel that took me a mile out of the way, or go through Greyhawk, I go through Greyhawk.
Which is what they're doing.
They won't get that gravel. That gravel isn't maintained enough.
My gravel's a disaster.
Gravel's crazy.
I mean,
That shouldn't be considered a road.
I mean, I hear a lot of safety concerns. It's interesting because on one hand, you guys are concerned about if the gate's closed, we have this liability and there could be serious problems with that. But it sounds like the more that this is open, the more dangerous it actually is. So I don't.
Either way, you're going to have challenges, each one.
I'm going to jump in here because this topic is near and dear to my heart. I had an opportunity to read a number of the residents' letters, and I'm aware of the concerns there. I live in a neighborhood that's real similar, right, where we've got a handful of homes with larger lots and a big arterial road just got put up right next to our development, and that road's slated to open here sometime soon in the next couple months, and when it does, all the peacefulness that we've had as neighbors is gonna go by the wayside. So there's gonna be more traffic, there's gonna be higher speeds, there's gonna be a lot going on. Very similar to the Greyhawk neighborhood, my neighborhood doesn't have sidewalks. So kids are on the streets, right? They ride their bikes up and down, and I'm terrified with what's gonna happen. We're looking at, the addition of some fences to try to, segregate off the neighborhood a little bit, but this is a situation we're gonna be dealing with as a city, and the first questions that came to my mind when we opened the gate was, number one, was it a public road, and number two, was it an emergency access way, right, for emergency vehicles? Then we talk a little more and it's a bus route, and holy cow, that's gonna extend some time for some people. So I had to really do some soul searching when I got these letters and say, what makes sense? And I really think we need to look at the use of the road. Like one of the residents has stated, this road isn't set up to handle these types of trucks, right? So I question if it makes sense on our capital improvement plan to, if this road stays open, which in my opinion it should, there shouldn't be a gate there. That's my opinion. I'm going to stand by it because it is a public road. If we close the gate, it opens us up to setting a precedent with other neighborhoods like mine, where the neighbors can come say, well, they have a gate, now we want one. And then Cub Creek, well, this is a public road, but we want a gate too, because now those other neighborhoods have one. Where does it end, right? So in my mind, I really love the option of looking at making that road what it needs to be for the traffic that it has to serve, and possibly doing some traffic counts to verify what those needs are. I'm also a big proponent of speed tables. I know it's not the easiest for public works. I know that it can make snow removal difficult, but I tell you what, they are extremely extremely successful in slowing traffic down. You combine that with some of the ideas thrown out here for some signage, clarifying some detour routes, slowing some people down, and I think that we have an opportunity to make this into something that it should be, instead of continuing to allow a dangerous situation. I'm open to other suggestions from the council, but that's my initial thoughts.
From Darren's comment, I'll ask you, is it possible to get a scale truck out here?
What's that?
No, not Darren, I'm sorry. Is it possible to get a scale truck out here?
Y'all have to ask and see where they're at with that. You are well aware of our truck red situation, so I'll address that at the meeting tonight as well. With that said, I do have to run, but all the citizens who live up there have my word. I will be up there doing extra patrol. I'm huge on traffic safety, as I've said many times, so I will be up there doing some enforcement, and then I'll look into our speed trailer as well. So.
Can you
So
find
I'll
a good
cover
hiding
it.
spot, Craig?
What's that?
Can you find a good hiding spot?
I'll have to go look.
My driveway.
There we go. So,
I've got access to both streets.
sounds good. Yeah, so I'll do some enforcement up there. I can sit on the West Fargo side too. I'm county, so I can.
True. You have both sides of the
go
road.
wherever I can. So.
Another option would be to have actually temporary speed bumps up. You know,
That's
there's
right.
Asphalt, you can pound them in the asphalt and take them out before snowplows come. That would be on the straightaway. Straightaways are the issue, isn't it, Ray Hawk? I mean, that's where you see people accelerating 50 miles an hour,
Yeah.
braking around the corner. So,
Right.
I mean, it is what it is.
I mean, I could see that, you know, that'd be a temporary thing. I don't know if we go into the winter with it, but once the bridge opens back up again and 17's open, I'm hoping that the traffic patterns will change and they'll stay on the main road.
I would think they
The
would.
Wilds has gotten so big now, if they have the option going through Grayhawk versus going 52nd around, they will not go around.
That's what
Too much of them.
That's what I'm
For
worried
that
about
neighborhood,
too.
yeah, the Wilds, like
To me, the only
They need to
alternative,
finish their road off to 74,
Yeah,
is what they
that's-
need to do. They got stuff out there, finish it.
long-term solution, right, is you've got to get that arterial hooked up to West Fargo and bring them around to 64th.
Right, no, I mean,
Traffic's not gonna
that other
subside.
road needs to get done, I know that, it's just that we're talking about on here, the one that's marked in
Let it
blue.
gravel and go to the other
Yeah,
gravel.
and that's why the gate was put in, because the developer wouldn't play ball with us.
I know.
Putting
Yep.
road in, so.
Yep.
I'm gonna take off, but you guys have my promise. I'll
Okay, thanks.
check it out tonight and we'll get up there and do some enforcement. I go, like I said, the days here in just a couple weeks, so they'll see me around, so.
Okay.
All right, have a good night.
Thank you.
And I think at a minimum, we need to put no truck traffic signs. I guess I don't know what the correct verbiage is, but I mean, we can't have truck traffic running through it anymore.
Well,
Didn't
to
we
help
have
them
those
out,
up
can't
at
you
one
put a weight
point?
limit? The weight limit sign out there?
Jim, did we do that at one point?
We can put a weight limit sign out. I mean, I travel in different counties in the state all the time, and there's roads that are weight limited, restricted, and absolutely that signage should be up. I feel strongly about that, because then it's enforceable as well.
I almost thought we had those up.
There's
at
a
one point.
no truck sign.
We have them
Yeah,
a couple
but
roads.
That's it. And when I was home for the half an hour, I took pictures of 2 trucks coming through the building just in a
Yeah.
half an hour.
Once they get caught in there, there's nowhere for them to turn around except for go straight. There's nowhere for them to go.
Well, the weight limit sign at least will help enforce it with a fine.
Well,
You should be able to
so,
enforce it now because it is a class 1 road. If you are a contractor, you know those weights.
so we have had challenges being able to get truck
Yep.
enforcement in town. It's been brought up to the sheriff's office multiple times. Deputy Keller, Deputy Murray, all aware. Sheriff Johnner also is very aware.
They're
that,
all aware
You know,
of
I've even stressed to them that honestly, we have a third deputy budgeted, bring the truck reg guy here, even half their time. Because we have so much truck movement in Horace compared to any other areas in the county, especially when it's not harvest time. Could we do, like I said, mentioned before, we could do signage. That's fairly simple to get up. Increase enforcement. Deputy Keller mentioned he'd be out there and he'll probably bring it up at their patrol meeting and bring it up to Deputy Murray. So we could push them to be out there more. Could you close the gate? Yeah, you could. There's concerns either way, whatever you do on that. Jim and I were just looking at temporary speed bumps. I know Darren just mentioned that too. Jim had it on on his screen there, right, when you're bringing it up there. And Darren's correct of, if you put those out, it's a temporary thing until snow falls, then we're probably going to have to remove them, because when those catch a snowplow, it probably won't be pretty. So they'll,
I'm just hoping it annoys the
Yeah.
traffic enough that they don't
I
go through there.
mean, there's options there.
Of course, it'll annoy you guys for a while, but I mean,
The,
that'd be all right.
the other thing, and just, insight, or what I've seen in other areas of town, 81st Street, we have signs up saying no passing and 35-mile-an-hour speed limit on the gravel road going to 81st Street. If you want, if council wants, they could direct us to have 35 mile an hour on most of these gravel roads, or you could do like a 30 or something like that.
It's
You know,
already
or different
signed
speed.
35, 64 then or development. I believe.
Yeah.
25.
So,
25 or
I was gonna say, I think.
development.
yeah.
And 64 too?
So you could do a different speed like that. I mean, you can even lower, you can make them all consistent, say 25 mile an hour on all these different gravel roads. You can do that too, whatever you guys want to do on that. It's
Can
in
we
your
try to put a
hands.
detour sign up?
So typically, most of the detour area would be within West Fargo. So we could ask the county to address it, but the county has taken a pretty strong stance throughout these projects
It's not signed as a detour.
to not sign the
And
detour.
and why is that?
Their project.
Yep.
That's just what we were told right now.
But then it's, look at how it's affecting our
Yeah.
residents. What, do you know when the bridge is gonna be done?
October 13th.
Okay.
I called Cass County Engineer.
Yep.
Okay.
It's
I
on
mean,
schedule.
is it possible if we do some of these other remediation measures now, and then once the bridge is done, and people, at least for the rest of the year, are in theory back to the normal traffic route, see what happens? See if people revert back to their normal traffic patterns and not drive through your neighborhood? And if that doesn't happen, maybe look at it again?
They won't, and not unless they finish that road on coming out of the wild 64.
You mean the one that heads straight south?
Going down 9th to 60.
Blue streak on there.
Absolutely no way. Now that they know it, they're on.
It's the quickest route.
That's the quickest route, and I understand, but
Yeah.
that road is not capable of two-lane traffic
No.
and people walking.
No, I agree. I saw it firsthand today.
Because people are driving on that road way too fast.
Yep.
And we don't want it to be. We moved there because it's a dead-end street.
Yeah.
It's wide. It's not even the same city, it's West Fargo coming through there. So I don't know why we're talking about providing them an arterial road versus a dead-end neighborhood, which is what it was. And it was sold to us as partially, so there was another route for emergency vehicles to get in. So I don't, we have a lockbox or a key or whatever, so they can get through. I realize it'll slow them down a little bit, but.
Because I don't realize what's changed from 6 months ago to now, why it's a liability issue
That's a
now.
big issue right now.
It was back when the gate first was up also, is the
But
question.
how
for
long has the
council.
gate been up?
The gate?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's never been a road.
3
It's
years
never
now.
been a
2 or
through
3
street
yeah,
until
2
a
or
couple
3
months
years.
ago, right?
No.
No, it's been over 3 years. The gate's been over 3 years.
Closed.
But the actual asphalt is still there, has been there at least for.
But I mean, it's never been a through street until just a few.
3 years ago, roughly, 3.5, I guess. I'm
Once
not
they
sure.
start building wilds this way, then it started becoming.
So there was some traffic through, and then a gate was because of the construction, traffic
Yes.
was coming through. And then the gate was up for quite a period of time, until recently.
Yep.
Did I hear it right that there was some, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounded as if there was some horse trading to get that road to connect, something for drainage. So that's the reason that the road actually connected,
No,
otherwise it.
The road was always going to connect, but we held it up as much as we could to get drainage because it blocked our drainage. So
We didn't want the road.
we didn't want the road, but we, Horace and West Fargo had an agreement that it was going to connect. That's what the planning commission had said, I believe.
And once Cheyenne Street opens back up fully in a few weeks, the bus issue will be non-existent. We've never had buses coming through the neighborhood. They're just using it as the quickest route because the detour is so long currently. And the gravel road's awful. And those guys do fly through there. I've watched them pretty much every day for the past month and a half, just, if they're not stopping.
The buses cruise pretty quick.
Yes.
Right.
They're faster than the cars.
I guess I don't want to speak for the Brayhat residents. but I would say that if we can at least get some speed enforcement and get some speed bumps in there and then readdress it after the bridge opens up, because I personally would like to see the gate closed again.
I would love to.
That's-
Absolutely.
So that would be our preferred route of action, or course of action would be gate closed.
Yeah, understood. I'm just wondering if we could try the speed bumps and stuff like that now.
Well, will that keep the trucks out of there?
Are they gonna wanna go over that stuff? And I'm not talking about frequency, how many speed bumps
The
do we wanna
truck,
put
the truck
down,
issue is
too.
resolved if law enforcement
I know, that's what I
handles
mean.
the weight issue. I mean, that's,
That
city
should-
contracts with Cass County, so
Mhm.
that's the solution there.
Because some of those guys more than likely don't have permits, and they're not gonna wanna take the fines for that.
Correct. So that's why it's the law enforcement just needs to start enforcing the cities.
Once you write a couple $1,000 tickets, contractors get the hit pretty quick.
Yes.
That's what I
Right
mean.
now-
That happened on Wall too. We caught a couple of them, and that slowed that down.
Right now, I see a lot of diversion trucks going through there now too.
Yeah.
On 64.
I'm sure,
It's-
'cause they're
it's a
coming
class one
south.
road.
Yeah. I can see that getting more as well, because once they start moving further south, there's gonna be more traffic, for sure. So, all right.
Darren, really quick, you mentioned diversion trucks. Are they just pickups or are they actual
Well, they've got a bunch
dump
of
trucks, things
houses
like
up
that?
Just to the west of us, it looked like there. I don't know if that's part of the diversion or if that's part of maintenance on the Cheyenne Bridge. I guess I'm not
Okay.
sure. I've gone down for the last couple weeks, but I saw there's a bunch of heavy equipment that got hauled in.
Okay.
Just to the west of us.
Yeah. We'll have to look at it and see. Because if it's diversion, we can ask them to stay out there. But if it's the actual diversion authority's contractor, we could tell them they can't be on that road.
I'll be honest with you, I did this
So-
for 18 years at Water State's paving. This is the first time I've found
Yeah.
that Horace had a actual overdimensional permit online.
Yeah.
Never filled out a permit in my life for Horace, so now I don't know if that's something that just came about in the last couple of years.
It's
but-
a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Horace enacted it, and I know that we worked with Sheriff Johnner. He, his office and himself went out and spoke with contractors throughout the metro, some of the most common ones that we see, to talk to them and make sure they're aware to fill out truck overweight permits when they have loads, or overweight loads, so, yeah. But if you do close the gate at any point, I would suggest the council consider don't do a sudden closure. Give it like a week or so or something, or give it a period of time. And I know it's not what everybody would want to hear, but it gives time to give notice to, I'm looking at it from the school angle.
School angle.
Because if you go suddenly shut it, the last time we had that shut, we had public works staff out there for a week or two, opening the gate for the buses every morning and then closing it. And then opening and closing in the afternoon too. So they did do that for
Once that bridge
about a
gets
week or
closed,
two.
Or once that bridge gets open, it should be no different than what it was.
And
Less traffic.
when the bridge, when that, on 17, when that does open up, that should ideally help, especially if you have those different deterrents. Is it gonna fix everything? It's not gonna fix everything. Does it help? And I do believe he's correct though, we were saying, if you had that continuation of 9th to 64th, I mean, it's not gonna solve your problem until you have that connection.
I think we would be fine if you have a sunset clause where it said on October 13th, that bridge opens up, that you would close the gate.
Absolutely.
And I think
100%.
part of the, I think it was council member on the phone about, gate here, gate there. Well, this is a unique situation where you have two different entities. You have West Fargo and Horace. And sometimes these entities don't play well together, if that makes sense. So it's not it's a different circumstance, I think, if you're looking at developments within your own jurisdiction.
And this was never meant to be a through street where we're talking about some of these other places. I mean, those streets were designed to be collectors and through streets. There's not driveways coming onto them, things like that. This was a local rural street. It always has been. This isn't 9th Street in West Fargo where you don't have driveways coming on there.
It's
meant
made to
for
hold
that.
those houses
Deer
back.
Creek Parkway is meant to be a collector. It's not a local street.
When that development was paid, it was Keith Burns, county engineer in Cass County, that we went and did a special assessment through to get it paved, and it was never designed to be a city street. You look at the road tops on there, Jim, you may have it. It's narrower than a normal, it's like a township road, basically, is it not?
Yeah, 24 feet with
Yeah.
4-foot shoulder, gravel shoulder, it looks like, which probably didn't get built. It's 5 inches of asphalt and
It's just grass.
about 6 inches of class 5.
The big issue you have is the height that the turns on there. They was designed to control traffic with the turns. That's where you're having some potential head-ons right now, people from around corners. You can ask some of the neighbors here, they've lost, how many mailboxes have you lost?
I'm on my third. Yep,
Just lost 2.
Yeah.
Finally stop replacing it.
yep, it's in the bucket now.
Okay.
Darren, could you just say again what your thought was? You said something about the sunset.
I would be happy to have some enforcement up till the 13th, and once that bridge opens up, then close the gate.
Absolutely.
That would be a compromise on our part, I guess, if there is such a word.
I think we still have to give the week notice, though, that we're gonna do that, you know, let's
Right.
just say, what I would go along with that is if the bridge opens up, then that's when it starts. We give a week notice that the gate will be
I'd give them a
closed.
3-week notice right now, and just tell them, hey, once Cass County opens up.
I'd love to say the bridge will be done on time, but we know how that works.
Well, Cass County engineer said it was gonna be on schedule, but that could change.
And you
We
said
get a
October
week
3rd.
rain event, that could change, that's what I'm just saying, so I would just classify it as whenever we get the sign off that it's a done deal, that's when the clock starts for a week,
Fine.
okay? And I'd be okay with that.
I can't, in good faith, back down from the liability on the emergency services. And I realize that this was gated previously, but it is a public road. And if something happened and we were to get sued, that's not okay. I'm not against putting up speed bumps, slowing people down, changing signage, whatever we need to do. But I am against having a gate there for that reason.
No, I understand, Sarah.
When the gate was put in, wasn't emergency services given access to keys and to be able to go through and drive through it?
Right.
I don't know what public service. or what
I believe they
Public
were,
Works did.
We've never had an issue there.
yeah, I believe they were, but
Yeah, I know we talked about that, I just don't remember if they had the keys or not.
You guys, this is one of those sins of the past that needs to be corrected, right? So previous councils did things, they allowed things that should never have been allowed because it sets precedences that should not be in place in a growing community. And so I sympathize with this, and I'll be really frank, I'm gonna deal with this in a very short amount of time, and I hope that the city's willing to look at the possibility of throwing out some temporary speed bumps in my general vicinity and looking at enforcement, because I'm gonna be dealing with this exact same thing. But we have to correct the sins of the past, and gating every community that doesn't want traffic in it isn't the solution.
But just to clarify too, Sarah, have you been up in that area? It's, I totally sympathize with the major collector that's going in along your home, but this Greyhawk Road is not, it's not, you can't, I don't know what you would even call it, it's absolutely not a collector road.
Stephanie, I run in that neighborhood.
Okay.
I've been there more times than I can count. I'm familiar with it. I can tell you where tracks are in the road.
So you
I
see the
know what you're
difference,
talking-
so you see the difference between the collector road going in next to your home and the road going through Greyhawk?
I understand there's a difference, but I will tell you that it is a public road. And that's where we need to draw the line. This can't be about sympathy. It has to be about reality. And there is a connection between the two neighborhoods. There is a need for emergency services. The West Fargo schools during this time has a need to get buses through. That gate wasn't meant to be permanent.
So who's gonna pay for the road, when it's all torn up? Who's gonna pay for that?
Now, West
Greyhawk?
Fargo?
West Fargo? Who's responsible for that?
Because it's getting tore up right now.
So Jim, with 5 inches of asphalt, was that designed for the amount of traffic that is being going through there right now and put you on the spot?
Well, I mean, the issue here, in the grand scheme of things, and not to point fingers at neighbors to the north, but look at the density difference.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the issue. So to get upset with the city of Horace, it's not the city of Horace that likely created this issue. This issue is, look at the development that is to the west.
Yeah, but we have no vote in West Fargo. We can't vote for a city council member over there. And have no influence on planning either.
But that's the issue here. So I just don't, I mean,
It's like,
to blame Horace is
Well, I'm not saying we're not
Not
blaming
fair.
our.
I don't think they're blaming
Do
us.
what we can on our side. And so controlling that entry point is what we can do as Horace residents.
Absolutely.
That's the only solution we can find, is a long-term solution for our peace of mind, I guess.
Tell them to finish the road out to 76 and you want to 74, you guys won't have a problem. Once they have an outlet out there.
Right. And we were hoping that could have been done a while back, but like Darren, you said, Jim didn't want to do that at the time. We finished that road on the project there.
I
which is
would encourage you
unfortunate.
guys to, we have had residents that are not of Horace come to our meetings. I would encourage you guys to go to West Fargo to one of their meetings as a group like you are here and voice your frustrations as well, to see if they can help in any capacity with figuring out detours up there as well.
Does West Fargo's public comment allow residents that are not West Fargo to speak?
I don't know, but they could
Don't
definitely
believe
email
I
them.
guess
They can,
West Fargo's gonna say, well, it's not our problem because the County 17 that's closed is a county project. And so they're not gonna expend any resources to fix this problem because it's not their problem. And secondly, the gate is owned by Horace, it's not owned by West Fargo, and that's what we're
Right.
looking at as the solution.
right. No, I understand. I just know that I have listened to residents that are not of Horace, hearing their concerns and frustrations with certain things. And if I was a commissioner in West Fargo, I would definitely want to hear you guys as
I went to West Fargo
well.
when they were proposing the Wells development because, against other neighbors, because we didn't want 6 houses backing up to our lot.
Yeah.
And he said, tough.
Tough luck.
That's the way it is.
Yeah,
So you brought down our property value by having 6 houses that butt up against our property
Right.
now. It is what it is.
yeah.
Density is what city wants. They want density.
Okay. What do you guys want to do?
Well, we got to do something.
Yeah.
So,
What would you like to do?
well, it sounds like to me that you guys are okay with trying the speed tables, the speed bumps, the new signage, enforcing law enforcement out there, and was there the flashing light thing that he was gonna get to?
Speed check. the
Speed check
trailer.
thing,
Mhm.
speed trailer? And then reevaluate once Cheyenne opens up. Is that what I'm hearing from you guys?
I would like to see, I'd like to see us put the traffic enforcement measures in place and then say that as soon as the bridge opens up, the gate will shut.
The week after the gate,
Week
after the
after.
bridge opens.
Mm-hmm. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm okay, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah. Okay. Somebody's gonna-
Including the bridge, or, I'm sorry, the gate? Or are you excluding the gate for now? What do you guys want to do?
You wanted to put the gate in a week after the bridge opens.
And give a week's notice.
Got to give a week's notice so the school district knows, and Public Works. Everybody basic, and Sheriff's
How-
Department,
if we
everybody else
did,
needs to get involved.
Jim, if we put speed bumps up, like, how soon can we get them?
I can do it tomorrow if you pay for them. I can go to traffic and North Star Safety and grab them and throw them in.
Because I don't want this to be like
That's what Public Works.
a month
If they
later.
have-
Like,
if-
I want to get it done like as soon as possible, like
It-
this week.
It depends on availability of them, if they have them in stock and then Public Works getting them installed.
We don't have anything
So,
late.
We don't keep them on.
Between
We don't
North Star
keep them?
Safety and 3D or go to fence, they'll have them. I
Yeah.
guarantee it. All they
No,
do is they
the odds
nail
are they
them,
probably have them.
Put a nail, a big,
Yeah.
big spike down into the asphalt, and that's all you do, right, Jim?
Yep.
Okay,
You pull
so
it
if
right
we do the
first
speed
one goes.
bumps, I want to make sure it gets done this week. Like, I don't want it to be weeks out.
Yeah. It's-
That one
I'll
about,
call tomorrow and I'll call you and tell you where they're at.
well, we should have some
I'll call at
signage.
7:59, right?
Jim, I'm assuming we're gonna need some type of signage though to at least warn that they're there. I'm just,
That might be a little bit harder.
I know, what I just-
Well-
Signs are out for a while.
I'd say 11 minute.
yeah, I know.
One more time.
They're striped. They're black and white stripes.
They'll be able to see them.
The speeds are
Just
supposed to be
saying.
25 miles an hour anyway, so, you know, if they're going,
It is posted at 25?
it is.
I'd say 11 minute.
Do
Put
you
them
want
down.
to do anything, sorry, do you want to do anything with 64?
A rude awakening 35-mile-an-hour zone.
Well, that's what they're doing though, sir. They actually are driving.
With them, or are we concerned with our children and the residents that
Yeah.
are walking out there?
I agree.
Do you wanna do anything with 64th and 81st within Horace's city limits to have that signed? That may take us a little while longer. If you do a 25, it's easier to get a sign. It took us a while to do 81st because 35-mile-an-hour signs are custom. They're not a common speed limit sign that is out there. So
Then I say do 25, get them up.
do you want to
I
have
agree.
that done too? That may not be as quick.
Just
But-
get the signs, just get them up, 25.
I can agree with that. Take that speed down to 25 and let's get some speed bumps out there.
Okay, so somebody's gotta wrap this up in a motion then, so we can.
I'm just trying to still figure out what you guys, are you gonna, like, exclude the gate for now? Or do you want the gate in? Like, I don't.
I'd be fine giving a week's notice once the bridge is open and trying to close the gate again. We'll close the gate again.
I'm okay with that. Make the motion.
How many speed bumps locations do you want? Because there's 60th Avenue, there's
3 straightaways, one's on
60th,
60th, one's on that 71st or 70.
73rd.
By me, I don't know which one that is. I don't know.
Would 3 be all right then, Darren?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking.
All right.
3 locations on the straightaways, one on 60th, one on
73rd.
73rd,
And 74th.
74th.
All right, so I guess I'll make the motion. Can we make sure that the rescue people have the keys to the gates, please?
Yep.
Like, that's a must if I'm going to make a motion for
I
a
believe
gate
they have
closure.
keys
They
already.
have to have the keys.
I believe they have them.
I cannot, in good faith, make a recommendation for a gate. And I may be outvoted here, and I'm okay with that, but I will not go against our Horace Fire and Rescue when they need to get to someone. I cannot, in good faith, do that. I can support everything else, but I cannot go against our own emergency services. Sorry, guys.
That's okay.
Well, that's fine.
That's fine.
You can say nay.
Okay, so we're gonna put down 3 speed bumps. How about?
3 locations.
3 locations.
Yep.
3 locations, all right. Then we're gonna do signage,
Yep.
and that'll be on 64th then, right? So that's when we're talking signage. The
Yep.
speed limit signs.
I think it's at 81st.
Well, we'll do.
Well, one there too.
We'll do signage, we'll post the speed limit of 64th
Yep.
Avenue,
Yep.
going west of where Greyhawk enters there, going all the way 81st, and then 81st going north will be signed at 25 miles an hour. Yeah.
64th is 25.
It's signed as you get on the pavement going east, but going west.
Grayak's already signed though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is 64th.
Coming in from 60th.
Yeah, and that's what we're saying, the gravel portion on 64th, because they're coming in, like one comment I heard earlier was they come flying down that road at 50+ mile an hour. That post at 25, that should hopefully slow them down if they're respecting the speed limits.
It's not a sign coming from West Fargo either because obviously it wasn't through.
Yeah, and that's why 81st, as you're coming down 81st, once you get to the Horse City limits,
Right.
we can't go all the way up on 81st, but we could go about a quarter mile up. And that would be 25 at that point there.
They're all right though. You should put one on 60th coming into Horace.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay. What else did we need then? Signs on 64th, 81st, put down the speed bumps.
Gate reference.
Gate reference, yeah, okay, well, that would be and then the 1 week after
Open.
bridge completion on 17,
Yep.
we'll close the bridge.
No, you'll close the gate.
You'll close the gate, but I mean, and then have notifications sent out to all affected parties. That's happening again. Probably be Cass County Sheriff Department.
And Paul, maybe you should put something on the website and Facebook. That's my motion.
I'll second.
Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Hang on. Somebody, okay, whoever's writing it down over there, repeat it back so we got everything out.
Okay.
Brenton, I'll give you a chance.
I have mine,
I can fill in the
it's
blanks.
pretty rough. Basically, it's, provide 3 locations of speed bumps, increase signage along 81st Street south to 64th, 64th going east to 60th, and a 60th there. Speed trailer if available, and increase law enforcement along there. Close the gate at Greyhawk a week after County Road 17 bridge replacement opens up, and notify impacted parties such as school district, EMS of gate closure.
Darren, does that work for you?
It does. I
Thank
can
you.
second
All
that.
right.
Sure did it.
We'll look for a motion then.
She made
To make it, she made it, get a second.
I'll second the motion.
Let me make some motion, Stephanie does a second. I'll roll call this one just because I know how it's gonna go, I think. Naomi,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
and Sarah?
No, for the reasons stated previously.
Got it, okay. And the motion carries.
Please make sure that EMS has the key.
All right. Let's move
Thank
along.
you for coming.
Thank you for coming,
Thanks
you
for coming.
guys.
Thank you, everybody, appreciate it.
Thanks, Let's move along to number 10. Jace, you got this one.
Okay, so at the last city council meeting, for a request to change 7th Street East to You Betcha Drive, we had an objection from the Sparks family, who's the owner of the property right here. There's an objection to changing the street name. The applicant, which submitted the initial request, was directed to meet with the property owners and come to a consensus. To staff's knowledge, Miles with You Betcha and the surrounding landowners have met. However, no consensus was reached. So this was brought back forward to you guys this evening to make a decision. The initial request is 7th Street East from 100th Avenue up to the north boundary of Vistos Industrial Park. And staff's recommendation would stand that this would meet our policy in terms of a street name. And in order to comply with our policy, if you were to approve this, You Betcha Drive should be continued all the way up 7th Street East, the corridor, to south of the lagoons.
Can you highlight it, please?
I'll highlight this in 2 phases. So, terrible placement of the line, but that's the initial request. And then staff's recommendation of if the request is approved, to continue it up to the north lagoons.
Jeff?
Yep.
I heard you had maybe another alternative or something. Is
So-
that the case, or
Yep,
can we
I didn't-
propose something?
I didn't get a chance to talk to Kelly yet. Kelly, you have Eno Drive off the end of the east end of your industrial development.
Yeah.
Are you willing to give up that name in place of something else? Where we might be able to change that to You Betcha, ask Miles if he's able to put a mailbox over there. Granted, I have not talked to the postmaster, so don't crucify me for that one. I did talk to a postal worker, but that's not the same as the postmaster. In that sense, you guys might be able to swap a road. That way it affects less buildings, if you understand what I mean. I'm throwing it out there for you guys to consider it.
Sounds fair.
Okay? If that happens, what name would you propose for 7th, Kelly?
Well, first of all, I just want to,
Go ahead.
Kelly Visto. We're the developer of the Visto 1st through 4th. And so when Miles approached me about the green section of road there, we hadn't planned on the road going up to the north yet, the orange section. So he proposed to change it to You Betcha, and not too hard to get along. I said that. I got no issues with it. You have to take it to the city. I didn't think it would go through because we were trying to do Irwin on one road, and that still is kind of in the area. So in that east of the orange road, which would be 7th Street right now, is our El Dorado division, residential division there. And we have a road that makes a circle in there. So I'm more willing to trade out the name. I personally don't care what the name of that road is, but if you want to give him Eno over to the east, I'm fine. But I have a little issue with the circle road in our El Dorado. It's Sparks or Luther and
Do you have a picture of
Lillian.
I'm sorry, Jace.
Sparks.
And then I don't know if we have it, but, and then the north part of the loop is A Street. So in that loop, there's 3 streets
Yeah.
with about 10 houses on it. So I would like to just call that like El Dorado Circle instead of Lillian, Sparks, and the little tail of the loop is 8th. There's 3 streets in that loop. Jason and I and the Sparks have met about it. The initial naming, how it got to that, was Lowry put those streets on there. So, yeah, this is kind of in the wrong direction, but there's our residential developments. There's Lillian to what point, A Street to what point, and Betty to what point. If we could just call that El Dorado Circle Loop, that's my recommendation. I don't care as much about 7th Street being You Betcha. Doesn't bother me that much. If we give them Eno, that's fine, but I don't have a name for 7th that I would call it. Visto is used up in North Horace. The only one I would maybe use was Irwin. That's my father's name, and that's how we started the developments through my father. But otherwise, I'm not too caught up on it. But I know these streets connect to the new Sparks development, which kind of just went through this on this last conversation on roads meeting up, and that's my only recommendation, is changing that out to whatever name we want to call it. I would recommend El Dorado. That's the name of the development. I understand it does meet with Lillian and Betty, but it is to a different development.
And Jace, we would be okay with having that, I mean, essentially it's still kind of a loop into Sparks, right?
You're talking with this one?
Yeah.
On
Are
two
you-
different sides of
Are
7th.
you okay
Is that
with-
what that is?
So the way it's laid out now is not wrong. Calling it a loop is also not wrong. Our policy is relatively silent on a loop and then how that connects to it a different way, but we don't allow a difference in classifier. So your classifier, like your drive, your street, your circle, your things like that. So if Kelly were to name that as El Dorado Loop or El Dorado Circle.
Only on his side.
Right.
That's-
Technically, that would then mean whatever the Sparks have their street names, which we'll discuss during the Sparks edition. I don't want to get too far away from the issue at hand, but if, then technically the Sparks couldn't say like, oh, then this has to be El Dorado Street, because there's not supposed to be a different classifier, which then would, I guess, open up 2 different names for them. Does
So
that
it
make
would
sense?
allow them to have.
Correct.
their
Nothing in our policy would
2 names.
prohibit what he's proposing.
Okay.
I guess would be the simple way to say it.
So, but the Sparks are still against 7th being You Betcha.
I think. Lee Sparks here, Mayor Peterson, members of the city council. Yes, I think you pretty much said everything. We had an opportunity to report back, met with Miles or spoke with Miles and then met with Kelly along with Jace there. So yeah, I think we were in support in regards to what Miles initially proposed as far as naming that 7th Street East up to, through his and the Visto industrial area. That shouldn't even concern us. So it just, the thing we don't prefer
is it coming, through our subdivision and adjacent to, of course, Kelly's, and he's would support us in this too, per our last meeting, because obviously we have multiple, I think it was 13, residential addresses on our side, and I know you have several on your side too. So, yeah, as far as Jeff's thought about that circle of streets around Miles' property, that's an option, but if you're able to move the postal address, I even proposed to Kelly too, I think he's got a good thought about the whole El Dorado, and of course we'd love to get Luther, back, because that, pays tribute to my mom's, maiden name, her family. But as well as we'd be willing to support, because I understand, that you own a lot there in regards to the industrial as well as up through there, so we'd be even allowing you to name it in your family's name.
Well, currently I do own, I don't know, 75% of it.
Yeah.
The whole Orange and Green Road. But I gave Miles my blessing on the green part, that'd be You Betcha, and that still goes through 50% of our property. I didn't have a problem with it myself. Whatever it was named, I really want to have, I don't want to hold up anything on whatever name you guys feel right. I'd be fine with it. Or if you feel that we should switch Miles to the Eno Drive, that's one sign to take down. There's no.
Which one's the Eno Drive?
Yeah.
It's to the east here. Excuse me.
Watch out for the cord there.
Yeah, it's right here. Runs north and south. This is our holding pond.
Is that what?
Buildable property, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you were referencing?
Yep.
Is that what Jeff was,
Yeah.
was that little?
And that we just threw my grandfather's name on back in the day when it was being developed. So
On the map.
What did she say?
Do you need more direction on the map, Sarah?
I need somebody to put a marker on the map.
Okay.
where Eno is?
Okay.
Okay, Miles, you're pretty quiet.
I feel a little bit like, I told them that, feel a little bit like an innocent bystander here.
Yeah.
We moved in and, like, initially started that we were getting construction trucks and stuff to the wrong address based off of that. It's like how it started there's that other road in Horace that's 7th Street East. It's going in the wrong spot, so that's kind of where it started. Obviously, I think that You Betcha Drive is a great name. And it pays homage to the Midwest, all that stuff.
Okay.
I did not realize all of the other.
Is Miles right here then?
And stuff that
Yeah,
now
that's his square.
Okay.
Causing,
So I feel like with Councilmember Trudeau's solution and Jace's comments, I feel like it's solved here. If Eno turns into You Betcha, leave 7th alone and turn the loop into.
Except then my question for Miles is, where is your access for the site off of?
it's off of 7th.
So the address would be off of 7th regardless.
it wouldn't
That would
address
fix
it.
that.
It wouldn't address.
I don't, yeah, I want to make sure it addresses it. That's why I said I
Right.
haven't talked to the postmaster. I only talked to a postal worker.
EMS
So-
and post office would look at that as he is accessed, his closest access is off of 7th and his address would be requested to remain off 7th.
I didn't know if it was where the mailbox is posted at, so.
Well,
No, because most of the time USPS is kind of a secondary when it comes to addressing. It's all for EMS access where your primary access, especially for commercial industrial, goes off of. So it's same with like County Road 17, we have Lakeview, and all of those are addressed off Jack's Way, even though they front on County Road 17. Their primary access is based off of Jack's Way.
Even though that whole land area is his, right? Miles' property goes from.
Yeah, they're gonna, in a case of emergency, they're gonna look on how do we access the property the quickest. And where his primary access driveway is off of, and that's gonna be off 7th Street at this point in time.
well,
What's the road just to the north of his property?
Industrial
That goes east to
Drive.
west. That's Industrial Drive?
That's a whole nother can of worms. This way you would-
Okay.
This is industrial, this
Yeah.
is industrial,
Yeah,
and this is
600
called frontage
feet.
road, but it's industrial. So we were trying to name this Irwin to get one of the roads up, and one
Okay.
business won't sign off on it.
Oh, that's right.
So we have 3
Yeah.
industrial roads in that development. That's why trucks can't deliver, and it's very new construction, and every building in there has no address signs up yet.
So
Not
we-
many do.
So we would never want to make You Betcha Drive that east to west north industrial road?
But that
Your
still
amount of
wouldn't.
impacted addresses right now would
Oh,
be greater than.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I suppose you're right, there's a lot of frontage on there already. I see.
I have a question, and so in regards to, and I don't know if it's necessarily uncommon, as far as a road change, name change, going from, say, like a business district, you know, to like a residential area. I don't know if that's common or uncommon, but I don't know, just throwing it out there, but maybe you have a.
I wouldn't say it would be best practice to do that.
And then one last point, of course, and this was after we had, you know, that last week, is the 7th Street East road improvements. You know, a district was created where, of course, us will carry the majority of the responsibility for seeing those road improvements, 7th Street East, as well as, of course,
the orange.
Kelly, the orange. So with that, we respect your decision.
So there's no way to sweet talk the post office into allowing a,
It's gonna be more of an EMS situation of
Well,
where primary access.
If the Sparks family is able to get their Lillian and
Sparks and Luther.
Sparks and Luther, would you be willing to allow You Betcha to go through all the way to 7th? Can we do all 7th? Because I feel like everybody's trying to compromise a little bit. And like, you're compromising with El Dorado, you get to have your Sparks family, both names in yours. And I just really want to be a good neighbor to Miles, because Miles is our neighbor. And I really feel like, I don't know if everybody knows who Miles is, but I just learned who he was myself a few weeks ago. And he brings a lot of good things to the community. And I really do think that we should try to be good neighbors if we can. And I understand that you guys weren't necessarily keen on You Betcha. But if you guys are getting both of the names that you want and you're getting El Dorado, is it possible? Like, I'm just wondering if you guys would ever consider just.
Well, no, what I was gonna say is, you know, obviously you guys have your development and things that want to be, right? Is there, I mean, I don't know how many roads are going through there or what the options are for those road dates or anything, but is there a way to have Kelly be able to name it the loop that he wants, and you guys have roads in there that are named those things? I don't know where all that stands, but.
And I would note, Miles is right. I mean, he is an innocent bystander. His request, it was his request. It's my job then to make, correct.
And
And
that
then
he was initially asking for. However, I do see that, in my opinion, I don't think that we can just do half a road.
correct. And then that's where I was gonna go. My job then is to make sure that request meets policy. In
Yeah.
order to do that, it's
And the
all.
policy doesn't have any exemptions in it?
So what happens when the lagoons are decommissioned, planned out, taken out, and the road goes through? We have a different name that hits 7th then again?
Nope, 7th
No,
would continue.
7th
how
is
they
actually,
line up.
7th Street is
Oh,
offset
okay.
here.
Offset.
So when this road would continue, at the worst, it would connect into 7th and a half Street. However, there are no addresses, so at a certain point, if those needed to change, it's not the end of the world. But 7th Street would pretty much die at Park Drive East. And then headed north, it's a different addressing system than what Old Horace is addressed off, so it wouldn't continue.
I just didn't know how it went,
Right.
so I agree. On my side, I am willing to work with Miles. I don't have a problem with the name. If somehow I get rid of 3 names in my little loop and go to El Dorado, I think that'd be great. And if the Sparks can have this is mine, if they can have their Luther and Sparks, I think that makes
Okay,
me happy.
perfect.
And I've
So
got a
I know
lot
where
of
you're
that.
sitting. I know where Miles is sitting. Okay, how about Lee and Nancy? I would love to
Yeah,
just get it worked out.
You know, we're team players, we're agreeable, and yeah, Miles, our daughters introduced you to your videos about 4 years ago, so so yeah, I guess the concern was obviously is, you know, it affects 13 residents, so whether they don't mind having a You Betcha as their address, I don't know, it's kind of a, you know, related to a business, now it's going to residential areas, it's It's a tough one, so we're not opposed. I guess the thought was, is if something around his property or through his property, I mean, have at it. And again, the whole south, we shouldn't have any say, so. And if things were reversed, that would,
I just really would like to see Miles be able to get his address. And it looks like we might be able to compromise with the Sparks property with your guys' mother and father on the loop. And then Kelly gets his El Dorado as well. I think it's a good compromise. And I think, you know what, with You Betcha going all the way up, I'm just going to say I would really love to live on a You Betcha drive. So,
my lot. Can we sell before we?
All right, so Jeff, what's your thoughts on that?
My last thing with it would be that we can somehow, I know it's not on this conversation, but that industrial
Work on
needs to
that.
get fixed around.
Yeah.
That-
We can work on
I
that.
believe that's another topic, yeah.
But
that'll
that's,
come up.
We can work on that.
yep.
All right, Jeff, your thoughts on this?
If Mr. Sparks is able to get the Luther name back on one of his streets, is that a compromise enough for you to allow You Betcha to go all the way up?
Yeah, sure.
all right.
You betcha.
Yes.
I believe that is.
You
that is
betcha.
it. All right.
Well,
All right.
somebody make a motion, let's get her done.
I'll do that. I'll make that motion to have You Betcha.
Hold on, Kelton. Anyway, before you do
Oh.
that, because we still need to approve the Sparks tonight. I'm trying to clear the water here. We got to approve Sparks tonight, so I wouldn't include any of the Sparks names in the motion, because they're technically
No,
not
I
approved
was just
streets
gonna
yet.
do the motion for You Betcha.
And then we probably then would need to direct staff to do a resolution of street name change for the streets within El Dorado as well, to get
With the
those,
same
if you
motion?
guys are agreeable to
Yes.
doing El Dorado Circle, does that sound
Circle
fine to you?
or-
Okay.
Whatever
It
it
can be
is.
in the same motion?
Or you want it separate? I'll look to the attorney for that one.
Same motion, your motion is a resolution, so.
Okay,
Okay.
so I'm gonna make a motion to have 7th be renamed You Betcha with the resolution of Lillian in Sparks to be Luther.
Wait, no, you can't.
No.
No, exclude anything Sparks
I'm
related
excluding.
at
You're
this
going
point.
to El Dorado to
Oh.
rename those ones. to
Oh,
El Dorado
gotcha.
Circle.
Okay,
Rename
perfect.
7 to You Betcha, and
The loop in El Dorado,
The
it
loop
should
in El
turn to
Dorado.
El Dorado Circle.
Yep, that's my motion.
El Dorado Circle, okay?
The circle or whatever, what was the other one we kept saying? Circle
Circle or loop or.
Loop? whatever.
Which one do you want?
Which one do you want?
El Dorado
Speak now.
Circle.
Fair
Circle,
enough.
okay, there we go.
It isn't a circle, though, it's a loop.
Did you think?
Hey, you want
Come on,
the
Kelly.
circle?
No, I just
We're
realized.
putting you on the spot here.
I think El Dorado Loop sounds really good.
It should be loop. It's not a circle. it is.
Okay, keep the loop then, all right.
Is that your motion?
Yeah, I'm on.
All right.
Naomi made a motion, I think everybody heard it, can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, Jeff does a second.
Thank you, you guys. I really appreciate the teamwork and the
I do too.
effort
I do
and
too.
just working together. It means a lot to me.
Okay, here we go. All in favor, say aye.
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 There we go. Now you're good.
Thank you, everyone, for working on
Jace,
that.
on to the next
On to
one.
the next one. All right. Now this is the part where we talk about
Oh,
Sparks.
gotcha. Oh, you betcha.
Okay. All right, so the application in front of you tonight is for a public hearing for a plat and rezone. The applicant is proposing to subdivide approximately 105.59 acres into 104 total lots. Additionally, the applicant is proposing to rezone the property from its current agricultural zoning district classification to R6, R5, public facilities, and then a portion of the property will remain ag. While the entire property is proposed to be platted, the property will be further subdivided with future proposed developments. 43.37 acres are proposed to maintain its current agricultural zoning district classification, which within your packet online, there is a zoning exhibit. The comprehensive plan identifies the subject property as mixed use. The properties or the proposed districts of R6 and R5 are considered compliant with the zoning district within the mixed-use designation. It should be noted, though, that with future phases of the development, the applicant will be required to meet the full intent of the mixed-use designation, which would include commercial and mixed-use components within that designation as well. The proposed development provides 5 in and outs of the development via Lillian Avenue, which I guess now will be Luther, Nelson Street, 3rd Street, 4th Street, and Sparks Boulevard. A 6th ingress and egress has been proposed via 5th Street. However, that access is pending the decommissioning of the lagoons. 7th Street East and 8th Avenue South will be required to be constructed as a part of the project's development, with the main entrance into the development coming via County Road 17. And that access has been developed in conjunction with Cass County Highway Department. The Horace Comprehensive Plan and the Fargo-Moorhead Metro Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan both identify bicycle and pedestrian facilities along County Road 17th and 8th Avenue South. On August 22nd, 2023, the Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing to review the application. The commission voted 4-0 to recommend approval of the rezone and plat for the Sparks addition with a condition that a 10-foot multi-use pathway shall be constructed with the improvements along County Road 17 and the construction of 8th Avenue. During the discussion, members of the commission shared some concerns with access only being available on 7th Street East, which I guess now would be You Betcha Drive, with the southernmost section through Vistos Industrial Park being a rural section and 8th Avenue, until access on County Road 17 is completed with future phases in the development. Staff did note that access is provided via Nelson 3rd and 4th at this time, which provides alternative access to the north. Additionally, staff did note that the north of the lift station would be an urbanized residential collector, and south into Vistas is designed and constructed as a rural cross-section road with a 12-foot wide travel lanes. Apart from the applicants and owners at that meeting, no further testimony was received during the public hearing process. Before I ask for any questions, and I apologize, this is long-winded, but there's quite a bit in this development. I want to walk through kind of the public land dedication, because if you recall, there was some discussion about the city potentially buying a piece of property, and I just kind of want to walk down how that all breaks down. So the public land dedication is broken down on a 10% and 4% breakdown. Approximately 90.9 acres have been identified as residential, which requires a 10% dedication. 14.69 acres in the master plan have been identified as mixed use, which requires a 4% dedication per city ordinance. Combined, the dedication totals 9.6776 acres, or an equivalent cash in lieu. The Horace Park District provided a recommendation for public land dedication. Within their recommendation, the Park District is requesting Lot 4, and there was one minor adjustment before this planning and zoning meeting with the plat. So the plat that's in your packet is an older one. There's updates to lot numbers, so the one in front of you is the most current, just so in case we're following along as I'm going through this. Park District's requesting Lot 4, Block 5, and Lot 1, Block 8, which equals approximately 3.53 acres. In lieu of the remaining land, the Park District is requesting $972,416.02 as cash in lieu. And then again, with City Council approval, city staff has been negotiating with the developer for land for a future City Hall site, as well as additional property for future development. Those lots are identified on the current plat. The one that's in front of you is Lot 18, Block 5, and Lot 1, Block 7, which equal 9 acres. Staff's recommendation is for the City Council not to accept the cash in lieu request from the Park District and request that the remaining 6.1476 acres, or we'll call it 6.15 acres, be dedicated as land to the City of Horace, with the remaining 2.85 acres of the 9 acres between Lot 18 and Block 5 and Lot 1 and Block 7 to be purchased by the city. And I'll have Brent walk through kind of some of those purchase details as well. So that, for if we're following along still, would add an additional 2 conditions to this, that in lieu of the cash in lieu request, a lot of in lieus there, the remaining 6.1476 acres should be dedicated as land to the City of Horace. And with that, staff would request that all of Lot 1, Block 7, which is this one to the north, be dedicated, and the remaining required dedication, which is about, I can do the math here for you here in a little bit, but required dedication be attributed to Lot 18, Block 5, which is the one to the south here. And then the next condition would be that the purchase agreement for the remaining 2.85 acres of Lot 18, Block 5 be executed before the recordation of the plat. And then I will now stop talking and hand it to Brent to talk about purchase.
Do you have a question on what Jay's had first?
Yeah, let's go with
before
that.
we go?
Anything?
Can you repeat that?
I don't want everybody to get lost in the weeds that I have, so let's check on his weeds first.
Nope, I did,
I'm good.
I followed it, yep.
Okay. All right, so Jack Dwyer and I have been working together to figure out some purchase agreement terms on the land tied for like a new city hall. The remaining acreage could be attributed to either the site where the cursor is right now. That would be the site we're looking at for the future city hall. Otherwise, the other parcel to the north right there. So either one, it isn't a big deal either way. What Jack and I have hashed out together, we've gone back and forth quite a bit on it, but very good conversation to hash through. Council, quite a while back, agreed to going with the purchase price of $4 a square foot, or we had those conversations of let's go, at $4, negotiate from there. We have $4 a square foot, and the Sparks will dedicate 3.53 acres of park district, or to the park district. Let's see. They would, 3.53 acres to the park district. That would be for, I kind of refer to like the racetrack, the land in the middle, what Jay's planned out, and then they have a little pocket park in the upper right that you see on the screen there. Then the Sparks would convey lot 18, block 4 acres to the city. As Jace mentioned, the Sparks would dedicate or convey lot 1, block 7, 5 acres to the extent necessary to satisfy the land dedication requirements. And then the balance would be sold for $4 a square foot. The total site is 105.59 acres. If the dedication requirement is 10%, then the balance that would be purchased would be 1.97. We look at the ordinance though, and the 2 lots on the west portion of the little racetrack,
And then one up to
and then the one up above it. The intentions are long-term to keep, or have those zoned as mixed use. Jack, correct me if I'm wrong on any of that. So in our math, we're accounting for it to be considered mixed use. The dedication requirement for mixed use is 4% instead of 5 like commercial is, or 10 for residential. Residential and commercial kind of wash out. They end up being basically the same, but mixed use is that 4%. So that's how we get to 2.85 acres instead of the 1.97. If that land does not become mixed use or rezoned at a later date to mixed use, it's zoned something other than ag, say commercial or residential, then the developer would be required to pay the difference to the city. Okay. The total purchase price there, 2.85 acres, comes out to $496,584.
Sorry, say it again.
$496,584. We would pay for that with our public facilities fund. These different bullet points I'm bringing up also would be identified within a purchase agreement. Lucas would draft the purchase agreement. We'd work with Jack and the Sparks and get that hashed out, and then bring the purchase agreement to the council for final execution of it. But I'm going over the different points of that right now. The next point they had was infrastructure would not be constructed south of Lillian during phase 1 construction, so phase 1 construction would basically be the other page. Can you go to that? They've asked that we break out construction. So the infrastructure you see here, so this is phase 1. So Lillian, which would now be Luther. And then 3rd, 4th, and Nelson would be part of phase 1. And then, I apologize, I can't read that. 5th there. That would be phase one, correct, Jack?
Correct.
Yep. Phase two would be the streets that are identified in this plat at a later date. However, there is a decent chance that phase two could occur at the same time, just depending on what our timeline is for a city hall building in the future. Okay. The Sparks would provide civil engineering design for phase two expansion with the development of phase one, so that the project is bid ready whenever either party is ready. So just like we do any other improvement district or project, the developer's engineer has developed the design, they work with our staff and hash that through. But phase one and two would be designed out, ready to go. It's just phase two would be able to be broken out if we're not ready for that construction yet. Okay. Sparks are requesting a deferral of specials for lots 1 and 2 of block 8 and lot 19.
I'm really sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
1 second.
Mark this.
You said phase 1 and phase 2 are going to go simultaneously
They
unless.
could.
Oh,
They could potentially go simultaneously, but we'd break them out as phase 1 and phase 2. That way, if phase 2, if we weren't ready for phase 2 yet, to get the street and infrastructure put in, we have it already broken out to where we
so
could take.
could
we
go
could-
at same time as phase 1.
Or it could be separated out, and they're separated out, so it's easier to break them apart.
Okay.
So, yep, it just depends on timing wise for the city, if we're ready to take on that infrastructure or not. Okay, you ready? Okay. The Sparks are requesting deferred specials on lot 1 and 2, block 8, and lot 19, block 5. So can you go back to that? Sorry, J.C., yeah, go back and forth.
Where are we at?
That one, the mixed use lots. So they're asking that the specials to be deferred for 2 years after phase 2 is constructed. Really, I'd say after the phase 2 is.
Phase 2, I'm sorry.
So the improvements
lot
that you would
2
see-
and 19?
Yep, the
Yeah.
two main ones on the racetrack.
Yeah.
Deferred specials.
So they're asking that those specials would be deferred. And what Jack, we originally had on here saying after phase 2 is constructed, I'd say it's after phase 2 is certified. Because you can't, well, yeah. Correct. Because it wouldn't be until a repayment, so it'd be after they're certified. 2 years after certified. Now, the city has done this, deferred specials a couple times. Deferred specials get really tricky when you're dealing with residential lots, being that these are not residential lots, do not have the intentions to be residential lots. I'm not as concerned about it. The city has deferred specials in years ago, I'd say, gosh, this has been back in 2018, 2017, for Lost River 1st through 4th edition. Those are residential lots. It got pretty muddy because folks didn't understand that deferral specials didn't mean when you buy your house, specials aren't deferred for 2 years just because you bought your house or built it. It was the first 2 years of those special assessment payments were deferred. But when somebody bought a lot and built the house, they might have been on year 3 or 4 of specials being paid on that lot by the time they built, depending on when they built. So there is misunderstandings of it, and that's where it gets really muddy on the residential side. When you're talking a commercial or mixed use, typically those are vetted a lot more by a buyer of a lot, and that's why I'm not as concerned. The city council a couple of years ago on the Lakeview edition allowed deferring specials for 2 or 3 lots there, just a handful of lots in that development, and very similar practice on this. That's why I'm not as concerned about this, because council has allowed it in the past. Not this current council, but previous councils have.
So with the deferred, your, those 2 years, is the payments of those 2 years are just gonna be spread across less?
23 years as opposed to
Yeah.
25, right?
They're just amortized, it's over 23
Yep.
instead of 25.
Okay.
So it does make their specials a little bit more, but it,
You don't have to get involved with them right away.
Yeah. It does give time for that mixed use to kind of get going. They do get a little bit of a, just how we bond. We do a temporary bond, then a permanent bond, so really by the time, if construction of the development goes smooth, they would have a little bit of a grace already, 1 to 2 year, by the time the specials are certified, and then they enter repayment. This would give them about a 3 to 4 year window before the repayment is after the project is done. Like I said, it gives them time to be able to help move the lots before the specials kick in. So, any questions on that point? No? Okay. Next one is regarding Lot 18, Block 5. The intention is that this lot would be used to promote public amenity that benefits our community, such as a rec center, community center, hockey arena, public pool, performing arts, etc. Developers proposing the city and Sparks don't find a use within 5 years that is acceptable for both the city and Sparks. The Sparks had the right to buy the lot at the end of 5 years for $4 square foot for the portion of the lot that was purchased by the city, and $3.18 for the portion of the lot that was dedicated, and reimbursement for any special assessment payment made by the city. So if we pay any specials or have any other costs tied to that land of owning it for that time being, if we don't find a use, they make it whole, and it's really like it was just a cash in lieu dedication instead. The city would recoup that $4 square foot, and like I said, it would make it pretty much a wash for the city. So that $3.18 is our current cash in lieu rate dedication right now. Any questions on that one? I do believe we could find some uses for that that would be agreeable. I mean, it would take some trying to drum up some interest and stuff, but I believe that there would be interest in this area. I have talked to a few different groups and stuff of asking them just high level, hey, is this area even of interest to you or not? One said they prefer to be up by the middle school, high school area. Another party said this is of interest and they wouldn't mind talking about it more down the road. It's such high level, I really not comfortable really getting into the weeds about it right now.
Like city with the private.
If we have like a private partnership of some sort, or
Well,
public-private partnership or
isn't that-
whatever.
I'm sorry, maybe I'm just not seeing correctly, but I thought that was the land that was part of our.
Can do it 5 acre lot. That's the one we're talking about.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's the same page, it's just half.
Yeah.
But.
Jason had that on his screen.
The north trunk.
You said lot 18. Did you not?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
That one's lot 1, block 7.
Oh, the lot 18 is the
Lot
public.
18
So
is
actually it
the-
would be lot 1, block 7.
Lot 1.
Yes.
So not lot 18.
No, lot 18. Lot 18, block 5 is the city hall proposed one.
Okay.
So yes, it's the 5 acre lot. that-
Okay, so you
Thank you
had
for,
that backwards.
yep.
Okay.
That's correction there, so.
So lot 18 was proposed
That would be where we put
City Hall.
the city hall site.
Lot 1 is the public amenity
Yes.
that we would have to have a partnership with
Some
somebody.
other entity. It would give us the ability to work with anybody.
But it could just be a
could.
private endeavor.
It could be a private endeavor where you sell the land for, like $4 a square foot. It could be something where it's a public-private partnership. It could be something that the city maybe works with the park district in the future or another entity. There's so many different options. We're not limited.
And we're not
Specific
gonna
to
make a
something.
decision on any of
Right.
that tonight. It's
Right.
just to
I'm
have
just
it
trying
open.
to understand.
Yeah.
Yep, and I just wanted to make sure that we're not gonna be pigeonholing ourselves into any specific issue on it.
It's
or
not that
decision
I'm
on
aware
it.
of.
Okay.
I'm not seeing anything that is specific. Really, the intentions are to try to find something that's for the good of the community or helps the community that also helps become an anchor in this area. You know, just like you see in, I know I'm not taking the best example probably of residential development, but you'd see like, I'll take a mall. You look at a mall has big box stores, you know, like West Acres. Has Best Buy, has Penny's, it has some others there. And those are your anchors, and then you have all the other stores. These kind of serve as like an anchor or draw to those neighborhoods. Sometimes it could be a park, and sometimes it could be other amenities or other functions or features within the community or that area. So that's what they're, you know, from my understanding is looking for, is to try to get something that would help make that area draw, but it's a benefit to the entire community.
So public amenity within 5 years, and the Sparks family has the right to buy the lot back.
If we don't have a.
If we don't have the public amenity within 5 years.
I believe it'd be the public amenity agreed upon.
Oh.
Is that fair?
Correct.
Yes.
So it's not like they have to be built within 5 years.
They don't have to be built.
We have to have an idea of what is happening.
We
with
may be
that
working
land.
out like a deal or something, or a concept, and say,
Okay.
okay, here's what we're pursuing, because at that point, we're probably going to be working with, you know, Jack and Sparks
Mhm.
to make it happen.
Mhm.
So, okay.
And when you say that they have the right to buy the lot back, that's only if we don't have something.
If we don't have a use, or if we don't have a use at a certain point after 5 years,
Mhm.
they could buy it back and basically make it to where it was like we didn't have the lot, or we didn't have.
It's almost
the
like
holding costs.
right of first refusal.
Yep.
Right, okay.
Yeah, but they make us whole on if we had special assessment payments, or, and also at $4 square foot of whatever we pay for, so 2.85 acres at $4 square foot, and then after that's $3.18. So it'd be like they're doing cash in lieu.
Okay.
Recouping our cost. So, next one here is they propose a city hall for that city hall lot. When you build a new city hall, it'd be a minimum of 20,000 square feet, at least 2 stories, have glazing requirements of 30% for north and west facing sides.
Slow down.
I'll repeat it here. So, minimum 20,000 square feet, 2 stories. Glazing requirements 30% on north and west facing sides.
What does that mean?
Windows.
Oh, okay.
And then have 20% brick, stone, drivet or similar masonry products on the north and west facing sides. No vinyl siding.
Is it
So basically, we
only
can't take
20%
the
or-
current city hall building and move it
Minimum.
down there.
Minimum, okay.
Well, I guess that's my question. I mean, is it necessary to have specific restrictions? We haven't even talked about a city hall yet. I mean, obviously, if we move forward with something at some point, we'll do something nice. But I don't know, I feel a little uncomfortable of saying it, did you say it has to be a 2-story building?
So it'd be a 2-story, they're saying a 2-story building, minimum 20,000 square feet, 30% glazing on north and west side, 20% brick stone on northwest side. So this actually, with our new land use ordinance that's going through planning commission right now, and even our current one, we would have requirements like this already for, we do it for mixed use, for commercial, industrial, we have design review criteria that has to be met. So if we would be holding ourselves accountable to a similar standard to what we hold others to, this really isn't that drastic.
But what about the 2-story building requirement?
The 2-story and the 20,000 square foot.
Yeah.
You know, to be honest, I don't believe 2-story is out of line. A lot of times building up versus out, especially when you're on a smaller site, makes sense. And 20,000 square feet, I don't know the exact size of this room, but I would assume, let's just say this room is 2,000 square feet, maybe. It's about size probably of our current city hall. And when I look at this room and how full this gets, we're probably gonna want a meeting room for a city council, for example. It's, I'm assuming, twice the size of this, so you have room for the public, because we filled this room many times. once you start.
Don't you think we need to have more of a conversation about City Hall?
And
before
there are
we-
going to be a lot deeper conversations at City Hall.
This is just scratching the surface.
And I'm not saying,
So-
like you said, that that's out of line, I'm not saying
Yeah.
it's out of line, I'm just saying I feel like it's a bit premature, and I guess I don't know how I feel about being pigeonholed into saying, yeah, we're gonna build a two-story building, because we don't know if we're gonna build a two-story.
Well, we haven't done like any like facility needs assessment.
We did a couple of years ago.
Yeah, but that
Yeah.
was not.
So, I'm just going off
Recent.
of, no, not recent, but,
And we haven't discussed, like, I think the last thing we talked about with City Hall was we were gonna create a.
Construction management.
Yep,
Yes.
there you go.
and where that group left off, when we did meet with the construction management at risk group, they were very fixated on, they want to see where specifically this would go in order to be able to move forward. So this would help that group. And then also, yes, there's a lot of discussions. There's no design of this. There's no.
I wouldn't get fixated
There,
on that.
there really isn't a whole lot of saying this building is going to be this.
But
I'm just-
if we haven't decided like what it looks like as a council, how can we say what we should, how can we have that stipulation in there?
And that would be if you guys are.
Is this just
you know,
concern for what the building's gonna look like? I mean, making sure that we're putting something together when the time comes that reflects the area? Is that the goal, or?
Correct,
Was
yep.
it your hope? Is that why you wanted it in there?
Yeah, we just want something that would be scaled to the look of the development. And so we're trying to have a, nice development, and so we want to make sure that the City Hall looks synonymous or.
Similar look and feel to what's gonna be around.
Right, so it doesn't, it's not something odd in that
Right.
area.
And we don't have a time frame.
And-
I mean, the purchase agreement, I mean, because we've had no
Yeah.
we've had no talk at all about a time frame
No.
on anything. Okay.
We haven't moved forward on, since the CMAR committee discussed saying, hey, we want to see where specifically this will go. Really, it has been paused. So, and we've been working towards getting this plot together, working with the Sparks and Jack there, hashing through these different talking points there. And then trying to get a purchase agreement in place, or get it drafted up so we can bring that, say, here you go, here's the purchase agreement. Now, if there's a minimum square footage, if Jack and the Sparks and everybody's good, lower that down, say to 15,000 square feet or something like that, you're going to be facing a building, if you account for a meeting room, you account for conference rooms, offices, public space, bathrooms, hallways, you're talking a public building
And
that's
I
going
guess
to
I
be
just want to
bigger
be
than
able
that.
to say as a council member, like, I want to be able to have my input as to what we see for the future
I
of the
think
City
that
Hall.
the guidelines that they've provided are extremely minimal based on the discussions for similar size or similar size lots that would have any type of commercial construction on them. They're not asking for anything crazy, based on what I've seen for commercial construction being in the industry.
I'm not saying that it's
20
crazy. I'm just saying that I just thought it was something that council would decide.
And we will.
We are deciding. This is a standard commercial building. They want to make sure it's not built out of cheap materials, that it's going to last. They want to make sure that it's going to have a decent looking face on it, that it's going to be a percentage of glass. I think we talked about glazing, what was it, 20%? Is that right, Brendan?
30% for glazing, 30 for glazing, 20 for doing like a brick, stone, driveway or similar masonry product.
That's less than what most buildings in the West Fargo area have currently. So I, you know, I think that the guidelines that they've provided are extremely minimal based on the discussions for similar size or similar size lots that would have any type of commercial construction on them. They're not asking for anything crazy, based on what I've seen for commercial construction being in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't tip my hat, and they're not stipulating means and methods, they're just stipulating minimums, and we're talking bare minimums at this point. I don't think you're gonna be dissatisfied with anything that they're requesting here.
To give you, I'm trying to think of a visual there. If you've been up to like Onsted's office, Lucas and I were talking about this earlier, even today, just trying to get a general idea of how much space like they have. I mean, we came ballpark around 12,000. It's like Onsted's office space is approximately around 12,000 square feet. And I just say because I'm assuming pretty much the council members seen the building or seen that area. They have, Lucas, around a third of the
First floor and then all.
first floor and all of second, so that gives you a comparison. I really wish I knew the square footage of the fire hall here, but it's, you know, going all the way down, but I apologize I didn't look that up before coming here, so. They said our current city hall building is around just under 2,000 square feet. Like I said, meeting room wise, this would probably be around, I'm guessing between 3,000 and 4,000 square feet, or not, around 2,000 square feet. Ballpark. 1,500, 2,000 would be this room. So if you're gonna wanna have council chambers, meeting rooms, offices, space for some growth, it gets eaten up really quick. So that's why I wasn't shy of, turned away from 20,000. Just in 2-story, I don't think that's unreasonable to consider a 2-story building because you can build up a lot easier than you can build out. So
Yeah.
that's where it comes from.
We'll have to look back at some of that stuff that we looked at prior, because it's still, I'd say, but probably 70% of it's still valid.
I mean, there could be some updates, yes. I don't disagree with that, but it's not.
But I think the concerns that we all had back then are still there.
There's quite a few concerns there, so. And then the last item that they had was they'd like to reduce the layer of credit requirements for the properties being acquired by the city and park district for phase 1 and 2, based on estimated specials for public lots at the time the letters of credit are required. So
For which lots again?
for the ones that would be owned by a city
Okay.
and park district, which
Okay.
I really am not really worried. I wouldn't be real worried about it because
Reduced to what?
just they'd be, so when the engineer now does the improvements or the once the district has been petitioned for and we have the district boundary set, and then you know the scope of the project, in the engineer's estimate, your state would create a estimated cost for specials. And they're just asking that those couple of lots would not, the estimated cost of specials for those improvements would not hit their layer of credit requirement.
Oh, would not be included in the
Yeah.
65%?
Yeah.
Okay.
That could go so many different ways. I don't know where our special assessment commission policy and the council is going to go on how we do handle specials for public property, but I see their point where they're coming from because they don't have as much influence or control over when those get developed, or like the park in the middle there, or the pocket park, when does that get developed? That's a public entity controlling that.
Is
so
park
I can see
district land
that.
in the past included? In past development? I guess I never thought about it.
I really haven't thought about that. I'll have to double check it, but.
That's fine. I hadn't thought about
Does
that, I
park
guess.
get included in other ones? Yeah.
Do they get included in other ones? Yes. Some of the parks, or more recently, parks the land is getting developed. Like Southdale Farms, for example, 3rd or 4th?
4th edition is.
4th edition has public space, but it's getting developed. If there's a pond lot being dug, that pond being dug out, I count that as being developed. There's a pocket park in Southdale that was developed, they're doing some improvements there. So those things, they get considered developed fairly quickly, but Are they accounted in letter of credit requirement? Yes.
In the past,
In
one
the
thing that
past.
hasn't been accounted for in letter of credit is regional improvements.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the local improvements have been credited towards the letter of credit, regional improvements, because they are seen as more of a city improvement than a specific development improvement.
Then they are.
Those have.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and that's what those are the items that Jack and I have passed through. So.
Anything else then? I'll probably go right back.
No, these are the main ones there. Like I said, if council had no issues with these, we would have these drafted up within the purchase agreement. Lucas could prepare that purchase agreement. If the improvements are petitioned for here soon, then we'd be able to also have the ID, we'd work together, get the ID agreement together too for that, and bring forward the petition for improvement. So we could potentially be bringing forth those 3 different components in a short manner to the council. It'd probably be in a month or so. I'm just ballparking, but we would need to have, in order for the plat to be recorded, we would ask that you have the condition where this purchase agreement is finalized before we record. So you'd also have the rezone going through anyways too, which has to do a second hearing.
Yep.
Or second reading. I mean, not hearing, second reading. So,
All right.
yep.
Anything else?
That's what I had.
I don't know, that was a lot, but just a reminder, we gotta
Yeah.
open up the public hearing for both of those.
Well, so I mean, I gotta get back to that.
Yep.
So, all right, so we'll open up the public hearing on the rezone, the plat, we'll do them together. So, anybody have anything you wanna talk about on the rezone? Plat, Jack? Got anything you wanna add to that?
Yep, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name's Jack Dwyer. I'm the owner's representative for the Sparks Trust. The trustees are Lee and Nancy Sparks, and they're here tonight. Since, I've got a fairly lengthy script here, so, but since we have a...
Do I need to time you, is what you're telling me?
Just given the timeline of the meeting, I'll just give the concise version.
I would appreciate
And try not to be redundant here. So the Sparks are looking at, what they're hoping to achieve is to develop this important piece for the city in an attractive way. It had some, challenging design parameters in that we were surrounded by industrial, 1 block of residential, the sanitary lagoons. I guess, but we are excited that El Dorado is residential to the east. And so we've worked very hard over the last year on coming up with a plan that hopefully works with the area and, is unique and attractive. I guess just to get into some of maybe to skip some of I can go into the design components if anyone wants me to. But in order to be brief, I'll just talk about maybe some of the business dealings. So what we're looking to achieve is we want to construct everything on Luther and North. This will provide connectivity. We've got improvement petitions for 7th and for 8th. And then we're also platting the lots south of Luther, those 3 future mixed-use lots, the public square lot that will be owned by the Park District, and then the 2 lots that will be owned by the city. And the reason that we platted those now is just really to provide a home for the city so that they can start planning, lock in that deal, so that the city has the ability to plan their city hall. The way that we presented it to Brent is that we would, design the phase 2 improvement so that the city can, if the city's ready to go on their city hall and we're not ready on the mixed use components, the city can pull the trigger and get those improvements down to city hall, so that the city has a pad ready site, so that it works for the city's timeline. And that's where the request for the deferred special assessments comes in. So if the city, pulls the trigger and puts in those improvements, and we're not quite ready for the mixed use, we are asking for that 2-year period of deferred special assessment so that we have some holding power to get the right kind of project or the right kind of partner to do something that, you know, meets the intent with the look of the development. With the architectural control provisions, we're looking to set just some baseline parameters on what the city hall looks like so that we don't have any surprises. Once the city develops what it wants to do and it shows us a plan and an elevation, I think we can, you know, either it's going to meet those parameters. If it falls short of those parameters, I think, you know, picture says 1,000 words. So having that front elevation, you know, would alleviate a lot of concerns. I don't think we care if the building is 15,000 square feet or 20,000 square feet, just looking to achieve a look that that matches what we're trying to do. The reason that we've asked for the reduced letter of credit in this instant is really just because the amount of infrastructure, because the public here is taking a large chunk of land, and it's got quite a bit of infrastructure necessary to serve those public areas. That would be the reason for the request, is so that we're not footing the tab or sticking our neck out really just for those public use components. Like Brent said, we're hoping that the city council gives us feedback on the master plan and the plat tonight. But as far as the business deal, you know, if the city council approves the plat and the rezone tonight, I would envision working with Lucas on the documents that would come back in front of council before we would finalize any approval. So we're looking for a contingent approval based on subject to the, you know, a purchase agreement that details the land deal that Brent explained, and then also, you know, potentially an ID agreement. And so I guess with that, I'll also ask Lee if you have any comments.
Well, real quick, in respect to the time here, just excited about this project, and I don't know if Jace, if you received a photo of my parents, I wanted to introduce you. There you go.
Oh, that's great.
That is my parents. That's Dr. Clinton Sparks and my mom, Bernadine Luther Sparks, born and raised here back in the 30s and farmed here and graduated from Enderlin High School, both of them. They're class sweethearts, and my dad graduated from NDSU and went on to get his doctorate at NYU. So this is all about them trying to honor their legacy. They unfortunately weren't able to realize this dream. My dad passed away 5 years ago. My mom passed away a couple years ago, so I'm not worthy of this. I just want to try to do something nice for the city, and I know they would have wanted this too. So anyway, my parents, and thank you for the opportunity.
Picture of that, Lee.
Pardon?
Picture of that.
Oh, this was a picture of them, I don't know how many years ago now, but they're at the southwest corner of the property there in Horace. So every time we come here, they always would take photos in front of it. So anyway, I wanted you to have an opportunity to meet them. So,
Oh,
so to
thank
speak.
you.
Apologize, I can't.
It's okay, it's
Understood.
family.
Okay, is there any other comments on the rezone? I'll ask that first.
Yeah, and are there any questions for me? I can go sit down. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on the rezone? Or is there any other comments on the plat, one or the other? At this point? Okay, going once, going twice. All right, I'm gonna close the public hearing on those two. Council members, what are your thoughts on this? On the rezone and the plat? Any questions, concerns? Still thinking? You guys are way too quiet. Come on.
I had taken a lot of time to review it, and there have been a lot of conversations with a lot of different individuals. I don't think I have any specific questions on the rezone or the plat.
Okay.
And on the land purchase, I think my questions have been answered. I just wanted an assurance that we're not tied to any time frame for City Hall and a real specific time, or a real specific tie to the look or what it needs to look like. I understand wanting to put something in the agreement to make sure that it fits within what your vision is for the development. I get that. I just want to make sure we protect ourselves too, and that we're not tied to a specific type of a building. And I trust, I've had conversations with you, I trust that when the time comes, I don't know when that is, but when it is, that we could work together on that. So those were my main concerns.
Okay, Jeff?
I do not have any questions. I'm
Okay.
good.
Sarah, you got anything?
No, sir, I understood that fully. Thank you.
Okay.
Good.
All right. So with that, then, I'm gonna look for a motion to accept the rezone as is. We'll do these separately.
I'll make that, okay.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Stephanie makes the motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Jeff does a second. All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, zone is done. Same on the plat. Anybody, motion to accept the plat as is?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Naomi makes the motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Jeff does a second. All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 All right, motion carries on that.
Aye.
Thank you, Sarah. Then on the land purchase, any further discussion on that?
As long as we're able to review the final actual contract.
My recommendation with the motion would be to direct me to prepare a purchase agreement
Thank
based
you.
on the terms of this for further review.
Because I would like to review the final before making,
Yeah.
yep. Thank you.
Also, apologize, I didn't catch this in the plat part, but you could do it in here, would be not record plat until purchase agreement's finalized.
Okay. All right, so any other comments on the land purchase then? So I'm gonna look for somebody to make that motion with the addition that Brenton made. To direct Lucas to put together a purchase agreement, and then we won't record the plat until the agreement is signed. Is that what you're looking for, Lucas?
Yeah.
I'll make that motion.
Jeff makes a motion, can I get a second?
Sure.
Go ahead, Naomi.
I'll do it.
Okay, Naomi made a second. All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 All right, motion carries. On to the next item. Number 12. Jace, you gonna put up the pretty map? Yep.
Mr. Mayor and Council, we started talking about this 2 weeks ago. I presented with some information as far as this project, as far as its history, as far as the previous district that was proposed, and then a recommendation for a proposed district for a new project that has been requested for via petition by the landowners south of 8th Avenue. So we won't rehash the need for the petition that was approved, but we're to the point now where we're setting up the district boundary for the special assessments of 8th Avenue. So just to refresh you, what was proposed was Wall Avenue to the southern border of the Sparks land north, and then County Road 17 on the west to the, I believe that's the half-mile line, just east of Drain 27. So if you could highlight the one parcel for the council, they are the ones we just approved the plat actually. For those who have requested you just click on it for now. That one. So we've had a couple weeks to think about it. Had some discussions with the staff on this, so I'm curious
where we're going forward at. So this is the district boundary that was proposed.
Can you slide that
There
up?
was
Thank
some
you.
discussion at that time of if Third, Fourth, anything north of Nelson would have to be included, or if the project would be, the district would be limited to Park Drive on the north, so.
My recommendation is we leave the board boundaries as is and let the special assessment committee find out what percentages are.
So Sharon, if I may, the comments that you had, I don't live directly in that area. So
If you start assessing, making a district that starts at Park and goes south, you will be assessing me for 7 and 8, okay? If you, then eventually Wall will need to be done, and I expect to be assessed for that. That makes me for three assessments. But if you make the district, including Wall and go south, there's one assessment. And then Wall would be later. So actually I would have 2 then, but everybody would have 2.
I guess.
I know that as soon as 8 is done, the amount of traffic that's on my road on Nelson will be decreased a lot. Because everybody from 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, they will take 8 because it's pretty much and you're out on
So
17.
you don't think that you don't think that they'll continue to go north to Wall and over?
North to what?
North up to Wall Avenue and over? Or
Not to the south, not unless they, no. Because if they're going to be going to the north, they would be going into West Fargo to work, to the schools or to the whatever.
Plus you'll hopefully have a reduction in truck traffic by your location too.
Yes.
Yes.
A lot.
But
That's why my suggestion to do a traffic assessment, then you can see exactly how many vehicles are actually going on which roads there.
Right.
Because 8th isn't going to connect to 7th. 8,
It'll
correct?
connect through Sparks Edition.
And at some point down the road.
Some point.
I mean, at some point
They
down
will
the road,
intersect.
8th will connect with 7th, but 8th is not proposed right now to connect with 7th to go down. I guess I have a little bit of,
But you
I
can
mean, are
still
people
go
really
across
gonna,
Third or Fourth,
but are people
whichever
really
way
gonna
it is,
drive
get
through
8 and then go.
Sparks to go down?
Correct?
I don't know. Pardon?
When 8 is built,
Yep.
you will be able to go straight across from either 3rd or 4th, which one is it?
Fourth.
And get 8 and go straight out to 17.
Just for Nelson, 3rd and 4th, yep. And then over to the west to 17. It's not going to connect with 7th further east and then go down to 100th, not right away. Not right now.
Well, right now, if you do an assessment on whenever you do 7th Street, that is so far away from me
Right.
that I will never use it.
Correct.
Unless I take cookies to the guys on my golf cart.
Yeah.
That'd be it.
Right, but that's where the special assessment committee will come up with what the percentages are, who gets affected by what, but, I mean, we have to,
If it's all done in
it's one dumb block.
one bundle, I think it would be fairer, because then you could actually do who would be benefit the most with each of those sections.
So that is a portion of the engineering report is a proposed assessments for the project or a breakout of what the assessments could be. Just as kind of a starting point to see where it could be put. So as part of the report too, there's a special section that has to be done. It's relatively new. It's a special assessment district determination. So there is some verbiage and some thought put into that portion of the report as well.
Is that in our packet?
No.
Oh,
Haven't
okay.
directed to do the report yet.
Okay, thank you, okay.
So what Jim hasn't mentioned, what we discussed last meeting, was for him to do the engineer's report, we first have to create the district. And that is, you said, state-driven?
That's just the process that's outlined under Century Code.
Under Century Code for the state, okay. So no matter what, we have to try to create the district without first being able to analyze it. That's the problem.
That's the first thing you have to do.
I do still have difficulty seeing an assessment district going up to Wall. I do see the potential thought of doing a traffic study. I guess I don't know how council feels about that, but for me, as tonight, I don't know that I can go to Wall with the current information we have. I don't know how you guys feel.
So the problem is you can always make the district smaller, you can't make it bigger.
Correct. That's what it comes down to. Plus, the other thing, like I said,
It doesn't make it smaller, it's just it goes to the Special Assessment Commission, and you try to tell them that they have zero benefit, correct? You can't
I'm gonna have Jim clarify
redo
that.
a district.
What was that?
You can't reduce the district.
You can't reduce the district.
But
When
you
do
can
you
reduce who
decide
gets
if you can
assessed.
make it smaller?
It's not necessarily making the district smaller, it's the Special Assessment Commission having
No.
the discretion to
Not assess.
limit the area
Not
within the
assess.
district
If
boundary.
they went big now, and then decided, wait a minute, this is not fair for these people over here, or whatever, when can they decide to,
And again, it's not making it smaller, it's the Assessment Commission having the discretion to not levy assessments on everyone within the district.
So what she's asking, I think, is the project would already happen, the cost would then be determined as to what the final cost of the project was in the end, and that's where the Special Assessment Commission comes in and then determines who has to pay what for their fair share. So that would be at the end, if that is what you're asking.
the other thing too is remember the city council has the last say on it as well. So if we don't agree with what the special assessment committee has done, we do have the opportunity to override that as well. All right, what do you guys want to do? We talked about this one meeting, we've talked about a second one, what are we going to do?
I don't have a preference.
Again, I would recommend we keep the boundary as is and let the special assessment committee do their job. Jeff, what do you want to do?
I'm thinking.
Okay. Sarah, do you have any thoughts on this one?
She does, she said leave it.
My position hasn't changed.
Okay.
I'm not gonna start changing boundaries and making them smaller now.
Okay. I don't want to play a Jeopardy theme song in the background, but so we want to make a motion and to keep the district as is and create it so we can get the engineers going on it. Either that or propose something else.
Now, Lucas, the last meeting, you made one comment that is still sticking in my mind. Size-wise, if we make it wall, is there enough land outside of?
So Jim's gonna figure that out, but I think likely we're gonna have to go through the resolution of necessity process based on the
Yeah.
current size.
Yep.
The petition's not gonna be enough to cover a majority of the area.
Okay, so
And that's fine, there's not.
what we
it's just-
approved last meeting, does that counteract what we approved last meeting?
It's gonna nullify it.
That's what I'm asking. Okay. So then what do we have to do then?
What
Do we have
did
to?
what did we?
They didn't approve it, County.
Yeah, at the last meeting, they
What was
approved the
the petition?
resolution accepting the petition.
Oh, okay.
So yes,
They
if
wouldn't
this is the boundary, it's gonna nullify that because it's not gonna be a majority of the
Right.
property.
So do we have to undo that first or not?
It just nullifies it.
It'll happen
Okay.
automatically.
It's happened before.
Okay, what do you guys want to do?
I'm just gonna hang out for a little bit and let them think.
Okay, I I got nobody here from the assessment committee. This is still including both projects in there, is that correct?
Well, 8th was approved last week.
Seventh
was approved.
I don't mean seventh, I mean your
Oh.
stuff from
Oh,
Nelson.
yeah, we didn't change that because if as we talked, intersection of Nelson and 8th is 4, then intersection of Park and
Third.
and Nelson has issues with Jersey barriers, keeping things off of the lift station, and it's a tight intersection, it's a bad intersection, so going up to that point on Nelson Drive is still staff's preference. Okay. So the one thing that I did find out over the past 2 weeks is that this isn't classified in the comp plan. I thought when I looked at the map, I was off a block. So Park is actually the one that they classified as a collector type. So this would be probably a lesser road. It would still be probably concrete just because it would service the quote old industrial park and not strictly residential. But the way we handled that in the past with special assessments is there was a base assessment for a typical local street, and then the assessment to go to a regional or collector type street was assessed based on the unit use factor as outlined in the policy. So the assessment for the local was on the local, and then the larger area was the regional based on use factor. Southdale Farms 3rd did that with Christensen Boulevard.
Okay, what do you want to do? Somebody want to make an alternate proposal then? I'd suggest we stick with what we have here.
I'm just trying to figure out, okay, how soon is Wall gonna have to be worked on? Because she brings up a good point, obviously, it's,
So the extension of Wall beyond 4th Street was done in 2015, 2016 timeframe with the Prairie View edition. Next phase, it was done in 2018, 2019 with Terra Gardens first edition. And then the next phase of, the next portion of it was 2021 with the Terra Gardens 3rd edition. So it's new pavement out to roughly Terra Gardens 3rd edition. Now, it's a rural section, it's not curb and gutter. Capital improvement plan, as you're gonna see, does have some improvements for stormwater on the south side of that road, because there's a big trapezoidal open ditch right there. And there's a plan to convert that to a box culvert to try to stop garbage and debris from blowing in there and snow from blowing in there and that. So that might come as a project sooner than the road, but it might be with the road too.
do you have to tear up any of the road to put that in?
No. Box is big enough, we should be able to just set it in there and then backfill around it. Off the cuff kind of thing. There is a lot of traffic on Wall Avenue from Prairie View, Terra Gardens, sneak east, south, out. But that's not paved.
Jeff, Sarah, anything? Stephanie, what do you want me to do?
I think I shared my thoughts. I mean, with the information that I have, I'm not gonna support a district to Wall. So unless anybody else wants to motion, I mean, I'm not gonna motion it, I don't support it.
Okay.
Jeff, Sarah, what do you guys, what's your thoughts?
My thoughts are the same. My position has not changed.
Do you want to make a motion? Do you want to make a motion to that?
Well, I don't know why anyone else wouldn't, but I certainly will make a motion to leave the district as shown, following the precedent set for every district prior to this one.
Okay. Sarah makes a motion. Can I get a second? Going once? Going twice? Okay. Do you guys want to table this another week or what?
I'll make a motion to move the north side of the assessment district to Park Drive East. And leave the southeast and west boundaries still the same. And leave the special assessment commission to delineate value for the properties that front Cass 17 directly. That's my motion.
Okay. Stephanie makes a motion. Can you want to do a second?
A second.
Okay. Jeff does a second. I'll roll call this one, just so we know. Naomi?
Yeah.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Sarah?
No.
Okay. All right. And then let's do the resolution directing engineering report. Do we want to make a motion to do that?
I'll make that motion.
Jeff makes a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Stephanie does a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. All right, Brenton, Matt, you guys got the budget. Who wants to start?
Touch base here really quick. This is, the main thing we need to accomplish tonight is the public hearing for the budget. And you have either this meeting or the next council meeting where the budget could be approved in order for us to be able to meet the deadlines of being able to get a final budget to the county. At the last meeting, we talked about different scenarios. We showed the preliminary budget, which has approximately a $500,000 reduction in there. We also had a $4 million reduction and a $5 million reduction. The public hearing addresses the preliminary budget that was approved. However, council could respond also to going with one of those other scenarios that we presented at the last meeting. So with that, I would ask that if you have any comments, or if the public has any comments for the public hearing, I encourage you to have the public hearing, and then you can discuss the budget more and decide if you want to make any adjustments accordingly.
Question?
Yep.
Did we actually purchase then that street sweeper?
Yes.
Okay.
Street sweeper has been purchased. It has not been delivered yet. Last I heard from our staff is they're hoping
End of next week.
end of next week now?
Or end,
Or the end of this week? End of this week. Last week it was end of last week, now it's end of this week. So, but yes, the street sweeper purchase has been tackled. That did address a couple mills right off of that. But like I said, it's, we could account for that. We account for that within whatever budget you guys want to approve. So, like I said, I would encourage you guys to have the public hearing first, go through it. If there's any comments, if there's no comments, or whatever comments you have, then you're able to account for that.
Okay, we'll open the public hearing then on the budget. Any comments from anybody on the budget as it stands right now? Nobody? All right. Council, comments on the budget?
I still want to see the decrease of 4 mils is still where I'm standing on that. And I think at the last meeting, I pretty much explained my reasoning why, so I would like to still do that.
Okay. Jeff?
So you said you're comfortable at 4, is that right?
Me?
What'd you just say?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm comfortable at 4. With 4, you said you are putting money towards the reserves, is that correct?
Yes, additional 28,000.
Okay.
Additional, yeah. So total of
53, I believe.
53.
Yep.
The big changes were purchasing the street sweeper out of fund balance and removing the code enforcement officer. Those are probably the most significant changes within that budget with the 4 mil scenario.
Correct.
Am I missing anything else in that?
Nope.
Okay.
And
And
I
then
know
putting
we-
some money in reserves.
I was just gonna say, you talked last meeting about our goal for reserves, or what our future hoped goal would be for reserves. I just thought I would ask, is there any ability within funds to move any sales tax earnings into reserve or interest earnings from sales tax into reserves to help bolster?
So.
I'm just curious.
I could answer that one, is the sales tax funds are basically earmarked for infrastructure
Yeah.
or economic development. So I encourage that we keep those funds within the sales tax fund. That way they do not get potentially used for use outside of their eligible use.
Okay. And I recognize that, I just didn't know
Yeah.
if it was, if it was a necessity of some nature to.
Yeah.
to- okay.
Yeah.
I also would support a 4 mil reduction rate, and I shared my thoughts at the last meeting. I just think it's, that we have an obligation to residents to cushion the blow of the ever-rising property values. It's really the only tool the city has to help our residents, and I would hope that, and I do think it happens, I hope all taxing entities are taking a very close look at their budget during these difficult times to try to reduce the mills for residents. We're just one entity on your taxing bill.
So Matt, why don't you, again, I think you talked about this last time around, each mill right now represents what?
Approximately $15 a year in the city of Horace share of property tax.
All right, so 4 mills would be $60 a year reduction, okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. Does that gonna, when we're looking at that, if we drop 4 mills and the amount of money that we have left to put in the reserves, is that going to be, something that Moody's is gonna look at? Is it not enough or about right, or, just trying to get an idea of what we're gonna be dealing with, because we will be talking with them again.
Right. I know at the end of this year, with our budget amendment, we're going to take what we have in excess. We're going to propose a contribution to reserves. That way it hits fiscal year '23 for the '23 audit. Because anything that we do next year won't hit until the '24 audit, so Moody's won't see it until Q4 of '25. We want Moody's to see as soon as possible that we are doing the right things.
Right. Being it's been brought up in conversations with them. And
Every conversation, yeah.
So I just want to make sure that we can keep some visibility on that, to show that we're still putting, just hopefully it's enough. Because I know what they're looking, they voiced what they're looking for. So, okay. Sarah, do you have any comments on this?
Again, my position hasn't changed.
Okay.
I don't agree with a bill reduction with the current state of the economy, the current inflation, the current tax increases, and all, not just some, but all of the communities around us making adjustments in the other direction.
Yeah, I'm going to throw caution out there too, that I think 4 is too much, but if you guys want to go there, that's fine, but I am going to throw a caution flag on this, because I don't think we should be doing that right now. A couple I could see, 4 I think is too much, but I will leave it up to you guys to make the decision. So, any comments from the public on any of this? Otherwise, I'll close the public hearing then on that. Any other discussion with the council? Otherwise, you guys can make a motion which way you want to go with this.
If we're that concerned, I do feel like there's a lot of other things that we could be talking about. As far as cuts that could have been made, I'll save those comments for another time, but I do feel like a 4 decrease is reasonable, and I would like to make that motion.
Okay. And makes the motion to go with bringing the mills down 4. Is there a second to that?
It would be the 4 mil scenario.
What's that?
The 4 mil scenario, correct?
Yep.
That was presented? Okay,
Yep.
just want to make sure.
I'll second.
Okay, Jeff does a second. We'll roll call this one again. Naomi?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Yes.
Sarah?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Motion carries. Jace, you got the next one.
Okay. I'm gonna pull up the map here quick.
So the property that I just clicked on is the one in question. Before I get started, the applicant is on a family vacation, so if there is any questions, he's standing by for me to give him a call. Just throwing that out there. The applicant's requesting a variance from Horace City Code 17.3.84, which does not permit an accessory structure within the front yard setback. Within the applicant's application, the applicant's noted the shape of the property, the existing septic mound, property access, and existing utilities and distance of the existing home to the front property line do not reasonably facilitate the ability to put an accessory structure on the side or behind the principal structure. The applicant's home is around 500 some feet back from the property currently. On August 22nd, 2023, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 4-0 to approve the variance for 6767 Fall Drive. The Planning and Zoning Commission made the findings that the practical difficulty and undue hardship existed with the existing utilities and easements on the property and the required locations of the existing septic mound and drain field. It was determined that the location of those were at no fault of the applicant. During the public hearing, one property owner inquired about required setbacks for the property and made comment on the nice layout of the applicant's property. No other testimony apart from the applicant was received. So essentially, they were looking to build an accessory shed. They designed their property in a way that is meant to be set back to utilize the front of their property. However, that came with the consequence of now we have the question of can they put an accessory structure in the front yard?
Okay, so I got a question for you.
Okay.
Just because you said the magical words right there. So this is by their own doing, and I understand that usually negates the variance, but is their lot big enough for them to have an accessory building in front of their house?
Yes.
Okay, what is the size of that lot?
This lot is 3.69 acres.
All right, how about width? Work with me a little bit here.
Oh, sorry. Let's see, roughly 217 feet across.
And how big is this building?
Oh,
I just want to make sure it's going to look okay. That's all I'm getting at.
Sorry, bear with me quick when we pull up.
And it's like where the driveway is, if it would have been turned just a little bit more, then it makes perfect sense for the accessory building to be where it is. So
Yes.
it is just an odd shaped lot.
Fair enough.
Is what ended up happening, and where the utilities run and where they have the drain field in the back, it's the only spot where you can put this thing in. And the discussion on, did they create the undue hardship? Based on just how this lot, where the plating, where the lots were approved, and then like I said, just that small turn of the driveway, I mean, it's just an odd situation where there's a power line or water line or something that runs in their back, and so there's just no way that they could put it back there. And that's not their doing, that line was there.
Understood.
And so.
My questions were not just for my own, it's also for a member of the audience, so.
Yeah, no, and I was just saying that too, because I said the same thing at the planning commission meeting, because that question did come up with the planning commission as well, is, did they create the hardship themselves? And
Square footage is about 2,400 square feet.
Okay, so it's not, the building's not going to be that big?
No,
so.
and when you take into account their setback, they're proposing it to be like 48 feet away from the west property line. And then in that turn will be probably 400 some odd from the south property line.
Okay. And then our new ordinance coming out, does that address any of this?
No, we still, it's kind of a copy and paste, and then if you remember our discussions that we've had, it will increase the plate height of accessory, but we didn't touch really much in terms of how accessory structures can be placed on property.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
Nope.
That's the public hearing too, by the way.
Did I open up for a public hearing? I thought I did.
Did we?
I'll open up for public hearing. Anybody got any comments, questions, concerns? Okay. I guess where my take is on planning and zoning took a 4-0 on it without any real big deal.
And staff at the initial point didn't have concern, or have a problem with the approval, there was just the concern of was it self-impacted, and the planning and zoning commission worked through it and made findings. We're trying to reflect it in the draft minutes that you guys have there, but.
That's what I mean, so, it checked all the boxes, I mean, that's kind of what it come down to, so.
Okay, I have no problem with it.
Any other comments on this? All right, then I want to close the public hearing. Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make that motion to approve the variance application for 6767 Fall Drive.
Okay.
I'll second.
Just makes a motion, Stephanie is a second. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, motion carries. We'll go on to 15. Lucas, or who wants to pick that one up first?
Right, Joe. Can I start it?
Okay, I could introduce this one here. This one is in regards to the discussion of updating the nuisance ordinance and building code ordinances. And it really stems the conversation tied to Maple Lake. So Councilmember Trudeau mentioned drainage concerns, and Member Nyan said too about drainage concerns down from Maple Lakes, Country Acres, where they meet. We met at the staff level, engineering, legal, project management side, administrative, and then Councilmember Trudeau to talk about what are the city's options. Lucas has looked into finding that we do have some abilities within enforcing stormwater, deeming it as a nuisance. However, there's also opportunity to revisit nuisance ordinance in general. Also, to identify our building code, because there's some elements within our building code. We follow the International Building Code for new home construction and commercial everything. Cities are able to amend or have within their own building ordinance parts of building code too. So one area, for example, that may help with assuring that properties have the proper elevation is by doing a survey called a four-corner survey. What it is, they take the elevations of the property, each corner of the property at the beginning of construction and at the end. Basically in order to prove that they have adequate grading for that.
Is that after sodding though? Because I feel like the issue is after they put the sod down,
After sod.
then that's where the issue is.
It's a lot of it, yeah. So the finished grades are provided on the plans.
Yeah.
The site gets graded to the finished grade as shown, and then if if somebody elects to have sod, they just slap the sod on top of that. It's 3 inches taller than the ground next to it.
Yeah.
So that's a big problem, yes.
So that four corner would take care of that issue?
No, it'd have to be checked afterwards to make sure that sod isn't 2 to 3 inches taller.
So then what happens if they lay the sod anyways and then?
Then they have to fix it.
Then they have to fix it. Because there's no real way of creating a grading plan and taking into account the fact that there could be sod, there might not be sod. Is it Bermuda sod? Is it bluegrass
Is it
sod?
easy enough to like lift the sod up and then like?
Well, if you only want to get that one little spot to be lower, yeah. But
mean, I don't know.
that would be kind of cheating the system, I think.
You a lot of times will know, like when you're grading a lot though, you have a general idea, are you going to seed or sod? Most of the time, not every single time, but most of the time you would.
What's that?
When you're grading a lot in a new home, for a new home, you have a general idea, are you going to sod
Oh,
or
you
seed?
certainly would, yeah.
And saying that, been through a build process before, more than one, yeah, you have a general idea as a homeowner or a buyer, what are you going to do with And the builders typically do
So
provide
then
final
they
grade.
should be like, so that's usually something that they know ahead of time, where they should be able to.
They should be able to.
grade
So then why
Plan
is it such
accordingly.
an issue?
Because,
These homes haven't even been sold yet. The
Yeah.
developer is overwatering 4 homes that are
So to
not
answer,
sold.
to tie this to hers, because I feel like
Yep.
that, we should tie it to her situation first. So we met last week to discuss your situation specifically and what are the remedies that we need to fix this, because we needed to meet with the engineering to know, are there concerns with grading, are there concerns with the new development? Why is this water not draining properly? What it sounds like is there's clearly excessive watering going on from the new development. So I did some research on it. The city has an ordinance that addresses this situation when there is excessive watering. So I'm working on drafting a letter right now. I will send that to the developer saying, hey, there's excessive watering going on. You need to back off the amount of water because it's creating issues. It's damaging lawns, it's damaging trees. There's potential that it's could lead to other damage. I don't know what that could be, but essentially that letter's going to go out saying just that, and not only just address the excessive watering, but saying, okay, we need to look at the grading here because it's not flowing to the stormwater system it's supposed to.
Either of the 2 new drains, neither one is receiving any water.
Yeah.
whatsoever. It's all coming down.
And
It's
so
not
this
allowed.
letter will have that in there, and part of that ordinance too says that if there's public stormwater available, you need to make sure that there's adequate drainage to that stormwater. So
Okay, but that still doesn't fix the problem for the future.
well, that's why I was.
No,
yeah.
that's why I
No.
was just tying it to
Yeah.
I
her
understand, but
situation.
for her situation, shouldn't we be making them regrade it? It's not just a watering issue.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We need to make sure that there's adequate drainage, and part of that would likely include.
We're putting them on
grading.
notice.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Is
gotcha.
what I
I'm
was
sorry,
talking
I thought you
about
were just
is-
talking about the water.
No, I'm saying for an immediate, we need them to stop watering. That's they need
So
to
to
stop
that point,
watering.
Yeah,
Joel is not here.
no.
Did he get a hold of them?
I believe he's reached out to them. I don't know if he's got.
I'm just looking for the answer. It's a yes or no.
I do not have an answer for you. I apologize. Don't have an
Yep.
answer to that, but, I know he was trying to reach out to them and get in touch with them. If he has made contact, I know the contact he had for it was out for a month, and he was reaching out to another contact he had for this issue.
Were they watering this morning? Okay.
So,
And
So I'm gonna say that's a no.
And the letter I have drafted is a notice of code violation. So it's a code violation letter that Jace will then review, let me know if he has any changes, and then he'll sign it and it'll get sent.
Okay.
Does that development have that extra, or
The sump pump line,
sump pump lines?
I believe so. Yep. So that would be,
So they're not using it.
Correct.
well, if they're overwatering, that wouldn't
Right.
necessarily
Compounding
impact
the
this.
issue.
It's
It
compounding
may
the issue.
compound it a little bit.
Yeah, I want our city to follow up. I mean, at one point we asked that Niels was here, and I know those 4 people, and they're not Niels, Thompson. So as far as us reaching out to Thompson, I need to make sure actually it gets done.
All right, so what do we need to do here, Taylor?
Actually, here, Joel must be listening, streaming there, because he just texted me saying he did reach out to him. So,
But
let's see.
did they answer? I mean, the other person said they were gone for a month.
He said, yes, I got hold of, he contacted Thompson after our meeting, and they were going to look at the sod and see if they could turn it down yet. So he did get in touch with them.
To see if they could turn it down yet.
Turn down the watering.
I think it needs
I'll
to
send
be
the
turned
letter.
That
down.
comment right there, I'm not very happy with that comment, to see if they could turn down watering.
Yeah.
Because right now they're currently flooding.
I will send the letter.
We are working on that letter. And like mentioned, he indicated that yes, he did get a hold of them. As for future going forward, that's why we were talking about the ordinances there too. Jeff mentioned that we have some pump lines, a lot of the new developments, especially the ones built within the last couple of years here, have a sump pump line within them. And we could require that within our building code ordinance that all new home construction has to connect to that. So they would have to discharge into that sump pump line. That does help quite a bit. And we've been doing that, including that in these new developments intentionally. That way, we've had historically a sump pump problem within Horace. So it does help us there. We could be a little more thorough within our excessive watering conversations within the nuisance ordinance probably. And that's where it is beneficial to be addressing both these ordinances. And like I mentioned, the four corners, it's after they've put that down, that material down or finished the grade, and they have to prove that they have the proper drainage there. So those are different things that could be done. There may be other options too, or things to consider within the ordinance update. The ordinance update probably take a little while to get in place or get drafted up and in place and everything. Make sure we think thoroughly, are there any other things that we need to account for that may or may not even be included or consist of addressing this drainage issue. Maybe the inspections has another item or two. But as for a specific situation within Maple Lakes, Lucas mentioned he has a letter being drafted up. We could get that out fairly soon. And our staff has reached out to them saying, hey, we need to tone that down. Now I can get in details with them, find out maybe we need to say cut it out completely, or we give them that letter even quicker. Maybe it's not even mailed, it's just hand delivered, I don't know. That might be a way to get it to them quicker, or emailed to them, so.
Okay, well, email, I don't know if you can actually prove that he received it.
Well, we can mail and email, that way they have it quicker. So.
I know Joel also mentioned one other thing, that he currently does not have the proper equipment to
Nope.
verify that the proper slope and stuff like that has been done from the city standpoint. I'm not saying from the engineering standpoint, but at least from the city standpoint. He threw out a dollar amount. I'm just wondering if that should have been included in our budget for this year, if he needs that equipment.
Typically, that's a cost you pass on to the builder or home buyer.
Okay.
I was in the city before, we required four corners, and it was required from a surveyor, a licensed surveyor, to prove your elevations. It isn't just a.
So they're already out in the floodplain. They have to get flood certification every. Anyways, I believe each home.
It's not each home. It's done as the overall. So the whole site was brought up, not just a home.
Okay.
So the elevation is based on the pad, so to speak, building area of all those lots.
Right, but that also doesn't take into account, I guess, slope for grading of a yard. It's the actual foundation of a house, so that doesn't matter.
Yep.
Yeah.
So who's in charge of the way the drainage is between the two developments, Country Acres and Maple Lakes?
So-
Who's in charge of the drainage?
So that was discussed as well, how to properly go about a new development up against an existing development, and the drainage easement that is typically on the backside of these properties. So we don't have an answer yet because we just talked about this Friday, but it was something that we had brought up, especially when you've got trees and grass and then you've got sod on top of it. And it's no different than on the pond lots. We talked about that on Friday too. Is the pond lot sod right to the end, and then it's out there. So I don't have an answer for you today, but it is something we've talked about.
I mean, they should just stop watering until the drain is created, or the route to the drain, because there's nowhere for it to go, except all over where it doesn't belong.
So that's what the letter says right now in its draft form, is that they have to cease watering immediately, and then not start or not commence until such time as the drainage issues are figured out. That's what it says.
Because yeah, for them to say, they don't know if they can stop watering because they're worried about their sod. Well, what about the other homeowner in the other development that is worried about their septic system that could fail?
Well, yeah, and right now if you read the ordinance, it's clear violation of the city's ordinance.
And how much of a fine is that?
And that's
Not much?
Well, I can't speculate on what the municipal
Just
judge is
determined
gonna
by a
do.
judge.
Got it, okay.
So it's up to $1,000 a day that each offense continues, but it's a discretion of the judge, so I
Understood.
can't predict what they're gonna do.
I guess I would assume once they're notified of this major issue, they would.
Well, they've been notified, and that's why I think Councilmember Trudeau is not happy with the
Yeah,
response that
oh, I
was
see.
given, which is we'll see if we can shut it down.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll check our side to see when we can turn it down, and that,
Yeah.
it doesn't
They
take into
need to
account
Yeah, you're
this
right.
homeowner that's
Yeah,
having
no, it does, it
damage.
needs to cease immediately.
Okay, so do you need an action from us then?
We just
Proceed?
send
I
code
mean, we've already
violation
sent
letters
it.
as they arise,
We're-
so I don't need any action on the letter. But if Brent wants to change.
Basically, if you would like to see, we could start we'll start working towards updates to the nuisance ordinance and building code ordinances, so we can account for some measures to hopefully help mitigate some of this in the future. It doesn't resolve the issue right now going on that she has here, but it does help hopefully mitigate some of these occurrences. Drainage issues are an issue that there's always a drainage issue going on. It seems like there's always a drainage issue, so if we've slowly been trying to get ahead of them and address the issues before they become a bigger and bigger problem. But if we could have more tools in our tool chest to be able to say, hey, here you go, this is serious, you guys gotta comply with this, I mean, that's helpful. The sump pump line thing, I think would be huge. Same thing with 4 Corners. I think that sump pump one, these new home developments, that would help. And it's going to help us down the road. And then we hopefully get other folks to.
To me, that should be a no-brainer. That
Yeah.
If the line is there, why are we not using it?
It's all about the cost.
Yep.
And if they're not forced to, they're not going to do it. Not all the time. So.
And the other thing is reviewing the nuisance ordinances too, just to make sure that we've got enough teeth in some of that stuff, because that obviously is gonna be more of a headache as
Yeah.
well, so.
So if you guys are good with that, we could go and start working towards
Yeah.
updating those.
So, you want us to make a motion on that, Brent, or are you good?
Lucas, I don't think they need a motion for that. Yeah.
If you want to, feel free. You don't have to.
You don't have to.
Okay.
Okay.
As long
Thank you.
as you're good with us, then we're.
Yeah,
we're
we'll
good.
just keep, and I'd
So.
say just kind of keep us apprised of
Mhm.
what you guys are up to on that.
And like Lucas said, we had that, he's getting that layer buttoned up. We'll get that layer out. We can send a copy, email so they have it. They're put on notice as quick as we can and start pushing them even more.
Okay.
So, and if they don't comply, then it goes through the code enforcement angle. And we've been coordinating with Lucas so they can handle that accordingly.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Let us know that, so that we know when they can,
I'll CC you and the mayor on the letter.
do. And then Robin, let us know
I will.
as it keeps going.
And if you have property damage, maybe let the city know.
I will.
Get an estimate.
I'm on it.
Thank you.
With those,
Thank you.
with those trees.
All right,
Mr. Mayor,
Jim.
could we pop, I'm sorry to do this to you, council, but could we pop back to 11B, that plat, and just have the council make a motion to agree to those street name changes?
Ah, yes.
Oh, yeah.
We never had you guys do that.
Oh.
For the Sparks plat to, that was part of the
You want to
street
remind us
name
what the
changes.
name changes are supposed to be?
Lillian to Luther.
Change Lillian Avenue back to Luther Avenue. That's the only street name we need to change. 'cause
I'll make that
Sparks.
motion.
Okay. Okay, Jeff makes a motion. Can you get a second?
Second.
Naomi makes a second. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, motion carries. All right, we are on 16.
All right, Mr. Mayor, we have change order number 4 for water improvement district number 2020-6. This is for meter pit installation on the free trailer park on the west side of County Road 17. What we have for justification is work was required to coordinate the planning installation of a meter pit in connection to the trailer park north of Willow Court. So it's north of Park, west of County Road 17, just south of this building. During construction and after plan preparation, it was determined that the originally proposed meter pit location and existing water main configuration was not viable. Additionally, the existing water main at the originally proposed trailer court connection point had begun leaking. That was just over here, so in between trailers, I think 3 and 4 from the road, began leaking at an existing fitting for those reasons, the meter pit was relocated to a more practical and accessible location. So the meter pit was supposed to be closer to Park Drive, got moved north in line with the north line of trailers, just a tad bit north of them. So the way that the trailer park owner had plumbed or had put in the piping for that is kind of a big H. And the best way to meter that, since the whole point of the project and the whole point of that meter pit was to make the trailer park user a bulk user and eliminate the possibility for water to run through it backwards and steal it and whatever else. And it was moved to the north in line with that north H, the north long run of the H, and installed at that location. So payment for this was done on a time and material basis. Contractors submitted a work order that you have in your packet. Estimated hours and rates of labor along with material costs. Work order totals $34,971.89. So not a real big change on a project of that magnitude. To get done what the intent was, is to be able to bulk meter at that trailer park.
And we still had some in the, reserves for that project, is that right? Or not reserves for that project, but your,
Yeah, we're running pretty close, if I remember right, on that one, so.
Contingency.
Just say
Kind of fills
contingency.
all
That was the word I was looking for.
Yeah,
contingencies.
contingency.
Okay, any other questions on this one? We'll look for a motion to accept the 34K to get this done.
I'll move. I'll second.
Okay, Amy made a motion, Stephanie did a second. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Brent, got the next one.
Okay, next one here, like keep it pretty simple on this one. North Dakota League of Cities annual business meeting is at their annual conference later this week. On September 22nd at 8:30 a.m. I believe that's Friday. Just confirming, yes, Friday morning, 8:30. Is when they have their business meeting. We need to identify 2 delegates. The delegates basically are able to vote on their bylaws and anything that is brought forward regarding the League of Cities policy work. Individuals attending that will be able, or that be in Bismarck at that date, would be Corey, Jeff, Naomi, myself, and Matt. So Chase will be out of town, or be out before that meeting, so.
did that on purpose, didn't you, Chase?
Historically, it's been the council member, or 2 council members, but it could be anybody, so. You get to write yea or nay, or check a box on a couple sheets of paper and put it in a ballot box. And then you get to sit closer to the front stage. That's summed up what it is.
I'd recommend 2 council members.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess that's us.
You guys have to vote on who's
I'll
the
make a
delegates,
motion to
so.
appoint Naomi and Jeff as our delegates at the NDLC annual business meeting.
Okay.
Good luck in a second.
Sarah's on the line.
Sarah, you want to do a second on that one?
I'll second that.
There you
Thanks,
go.
Sarah.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Bye.
All right,
you.
motion carries. Jim, what do you got
All
for?
right, Mr. Real, run
next?
through 5 projects, quick, just to give you kind of an update. So the first one I have is Wall Avenue East. First pave is scheduled for tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock, and that'll be the north side of the road. So it'd be the westbound lanes, and the second pave is scheduled for Friday, provided the weather holds. So there would be pavement on both sides of that road come the end of the week. They're scheduled for the next 3 weeks, so paving will be completed by the end of this week. Curb and gutter will be completed by the end of next week, along with the asphalt patching and the tie-ins at Cooley, Apple Orchard, and Cheyenne. And then the following week, the third week, would be underground, electrical underground and bases. Retaining wall installation will be that third week. And then flat work construction will be cut prep for, so basically it's looking like the end of the week of 10/2, so it'll be 10, it's the end of that week.
10-5 or 6?
10/7, things would be pretty much done, I suppose, minus any of the turf establishment and that. So they've really hit that project pretty hard since once they're able to get going on it, so.
So if it rains on Thursday, Friday.
So they're set up pretty good
contingency?
right now, because all the storm sewers in, drain tiles in, base materials in. So if it's set up to drain. That's the best part about it, is that they've got the base and the fabric and all that in there, and that's meant to drain anyways. So-
Right. I'm just
so
thinking
that's,
concrete pouring.
That's what I'm-
Yeah, it'll probably, it could push them back on that, but.
Yeah, okay.
It's, we can't figure that far out.
Okay,
So,
yep, no, that's fine.
They were able to do the entrance to the orchard in phases to minimize any other disruptions.
They did a really
so-
good job.
Yeah, that's been very good. So, Wall Avenue West, we did get a proposed, or revised schedule from Park Construction earlier today. They're looking like the pavement would be completed by the end of, or the 4th of October. That would be concrete pavement, concrete prep, rebar paving, and curb north half. South half drags into the second weekend in October. So they're just a little bit further behind than the guys on the east side, but they're pushing along as well. I believe the approach panel is supposed to be going in this week or next week. So
Jim, are they still thinking then, I mean, like middle of October? Is
yeah,
that
that's what I would say here. Concrete permanent seating. Middle, yeah, maybe more towards the end of the October. Everything for 23 they have done 29th of October. Looks like install permanent striping, permanent siding between this pavement. So that'd be the end of October. So
Yeah.
kind of in the same area, maybe just a little bit lagging. This is a bigger project over the Wall Avenue West one. 66th Street paving, the main line south of Christensen Boulevard is complete. They're hanging curb on the west side today. They're hanging curb on the east side. Sidewalks and that are ongoing, so they're making some headway on that. Lots of concrete pavement went down in the last couple of weeks on that. Maple Lake Estates Phase 2, the substantial completion was mailed off or emailed to the contractor for their acceptance last week. So that one just has some punch list items remaining. And then the submittal of Wilmerville. Center Avenue, multimodal, you can see the striping out here, the curb and gutter out here, and then the concrete work over by the senior center. So that one, the only thing that remains is the siding, do some street siding. And the shared use path, all the concrete work is done. Bituminous patching went today on the driveway and then up at 70th. And they're continuing to work on shaping that, shaping the ditch up there. So those are the quick 5 I was going to give you today as a precursor to our big update next 2 weeks.
I do have a question for you.
Sure.
Airwood Third.
Airwood Third.
The shaft they put there, are they not worried about that blowing away? Did it blow away today? I'm just wondering, because it usually
Are
blows
they
away.
worried
to
about it?
anybody.
Probably not. Am I worried about it? Yes. So
I'm guessing the neighborhood to the north is now covered in shaft.
Well, maybe the wind will blow the other way tomorrow. But no, that was something that we did notice. We're trying to get, so the project manager that was working on that project is no longer with Master, so we've been kind of fighting our way through some notifications and some other those guys, so.
So that was to prevent water runoff
No,
tomorrow?
well, it's supposed to be drilled a disc into it. Disc anchored is what it's called.
Okay.
So instead of turning a disc in like this, you run it straight and it pushes the straw
Right.
in as it anchors it in there. So we had some discussions today and I just wasn't able to get an answer for you by tonight. So yeah, I noticed that today.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That's all I had.
The horses might like it though on the south side. If there's a positive.
Is it hay or straw?
It's straw.
It's straw.
It's straw.
I know, I just was throwing.
Just being funny.
Do I look like an FFA guy?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, Jim, you done there?
Yeah, I'm done.
All right, Brent, what do you got?
Okay, just a reminder, League of Cities Conference, I will, Naomi will touch base with you after the meeting here on that, working out just logistics tied to it. Also reviewing applications for receptionist position, looking at doing interviews next week. And the last item I had is, I did have a resident reach out towards the end of last week, concerns about construction noise at 6:15 a.m. over by the Dreamfields area. I did bring it up with our staff and Ordinance says 7 AM, so it's been brought up with Interstate to send a reminder to contractors that are working on our different projects, like different developments or road project stuff. Hey, that running at heavier equipment, please don't start until 7. So we try to be as accommodating as we can because we want them to get in and get it done, but we also want to make sure we're respecting the folks that live in these areas too, or nearby. So just want to let you know about that.
Okay. Anything else?
That's all.
That's it, huh?
And sweeper hopefully this week.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so on portfolio reports, like was mentioned, League of Cities, I am planning to take off on Wednesday at 3 o'clock, be out there. They've got a social I'm planning to try and get to on Wednesday night. Got a couple panels I get introduced, and I'll be on a gaming panel on Friday. I think it's the last one. And after that, I'm going to probably be meeting with the people who are on that panel with me. We're going to try and look at coming up with some type of a gaming policy that cities can adopt that aren't so rigid like some of the larger cities, but have some things in there that protect the city too, to make sure that you have the proper gaming sites coming in, things like that. So we're gonna have a conversation about that while we're out there. So that's all I got. Sarah, what do you got?
Not a whole lot. Jim would already talked about some of the stuff I had, so we'll defer.
Okay, sounds good. Naomi, what do you got?
I got nothing, other than I'm just going out to Bismarck as well, so.
Okay. Stephanie?
I have nothing either.
Okay. Jeff?
I don't have a lot. I'm just looking forward to voting at 8:30 in the morning on Friday.
Boy. All right. Next item on the list here, then, we gotta go into executive session. So executive session held pursuant to NBCC 440419-1, or .1, to discuss negotiating strategy for the purchase of real property related to BNS railroad property. Take 5 minutes. We'll get her done.
We could probably just go to it right away. It's gonna be.
Are you okay? All right,
Yeah.
it's just gonna be quick. All right.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Knock it out.
3 minutes.
Sarah, we could stay on the same link per Teams.
We don't need to make any action plans here. Just thank you for the information. All right, with that, I'm gonna look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
All right, Jeff makes a motion to adjourn. Anybody want to do a second?
Second.
Nobody does a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye.